When I was 4, a fortune teller said I was fated to bring misfortune to my parents. They sent me to a remote manor, and for 10 years, I never laid eyes on them once. They did not care if I lived or died. At 14, they fetched me home, only to marry me off. My elder sister, the legitimate daughter, laughed and said a fool marrying a sickly man was a match made in heaven. My parents told me, if this marriage were not unbreakable, and if your elder sister were not soon to make a noble marriage, you wouldn't even be fit to shine her shoes. A married daughter is like spilled water, don't come back, whether things go well or ill for you. Only he held my hand, taught me to write my own name, and taught me that a woman must respect herself, love herself, strive for self-improvement, and forge ahead with resolve. In those 10 years at the manor, I long forgot what my parents looked like. My wet nurse would say, "You are the second legitimate daughter of the Wang family. You ought to have lived a life of gold and luxury. It's all that damned fortune teller's fault." She would curse him until her eyes reddened, but fearing she might corrupt me, her words always boiled down to the same few: damned black-hearted wretch, a snake in the grass. I would nestle by her side, smile up at the sky, and count on my fingers how many more days until my brother came back, and what rare trinkets he would bring me. The manor was far, far from the capital. I'd ridden in a carriage for days to get here, and upon arriving, several fierce old maids stood guard at the gate, saying, "By order of the master and madam, you are not to step outside." I was locked away in that house for 10 long years. I could not read or write, could not recite poems or compose verses, much less play the cheen or dance. I did not even know how to work in the kitchen, but my wet nurse would still praise me for being obedient. Say I was wonderful at growing flowers, that I was the finest girl in the world. My brother too would call me the best little sister there ever was. My brother was the wet nurse's son. He had come to the manor with me all those years ago. Unlike me, who was forbidden from everything, no one ever stopped him from doing as he pleased. First, he went into the mountains to hunt with the hunters from the nearby village, learning great martial skills. Later, he became a caravan guard. And now he was married with children, settled in the village. His wife was the daughter of his hunter master, and the two were deeply in love. My wet nurse and brother would be home in a few days. They'd been gone for over a month, long enough. I looked up at the bright blue sky. It ought to have been boundless. But trapped as I was in this tiny little space, it seemed small and cramped too. I thought of the rivers and lakes, the dense forests, the bustling streets, the lively market fairs and temple festivals my brother had told me about when he came back. 10 years. My parents had never sent for me to return, nor had they come to see me. All my food and clothing came from the manor's own produce. I did not eat delicacies from mountains and seas, nor wear silks and satins. But I was never hungry or cold. When I was little, I did not understand what it meant to bring misfortune to father and mother. When I grew a little older, I heard the old maids gossiping, calling me a jinx, saying they had to stay far away from me lest they catch my bad luck. Then I understood seeking profit and avoiding harm is only human nature. I grieved when my blood relatives shunned me, but not deeply, for I had my wet nurse and my brother. This time, my brother brought back plenty of rare trinkets, including a withering camellia plant. He said it was called the 18 Scholars. I had no idea of its elegant name. I only thought it looked pitiful. I carefully pruned its roots, repotted it, watered it, and set it by the window, wiping its few remaining leaves with a small cloth, waiting for it to sprout new branches and buds. "Nurse, nurse, it's alive." I urged her to go tell my brother at once that the camellia he'd brought back had survived because of me. Before she left, she stroked my cheek, her eyes red, and said, "I'll be right back. Be good and stay home." Yes, I had snuck out once a long time ago. When they found me and brought me back, the old maids did not punish me, but they bullied my wet nurse terribly. I could not fight them, nor could I do anything to stop them. After that, I never tried to run away again, for I knew that if I made a mistake, it would be my wet nurse who suffered for it. The day the Wang family's men came to fetch me, the camellia's leaves were lush and green. I listened to the man prattle on, but did not remember a single word, for he was lying, saying my parents missed me, that they had sent him specially to bring me home. I may have been unworldly, but I was not truly stupid. I could tell truth from falsehood well enough. My wet nurse, though, was overjoyed, thinking my long wait had finally borne fruit. that the clouds had parted and the moon shone bright at last. I could not bear to tell her the truth. This return home would likely take me from one cage to another, so I would not let her come with me, lest her heart ached for me and she did something irreversible. Miss, why, my brother often had to go away to make a living, my sister-in-law was with child, and the little ones needed someone to look after them. I'm going home to live a life of ease and comfort. Nurse, do not worry, I told her, once I'm settled, I'll send someone to fetch you and brother to the capital to live with me. On the day I left, before I climbed into the carriage, I smiled the whole time, as if filled with eager anticipation for going home, as if I were truly overjoyed. But once I was inside the carriage, staring at the camellia in the corner, tears finally rolled down my cheeks uncontrollably. I wondered if I would ever see my wet nurse and brother again in this life. The journey back to the capital was just like the one I'd made all those years ago, passing through days and nights, until at last we arrived. There was no warm welcome from my parents, no respectful greeting from the servants. I was taken to my mother, who was fresh from the bath, dressed in fine silk and luxurious robes, elegant, gentle, and regal. At her side, a pretty young girl tugged at her sleeve, acting coquettishly, crying, "Mother, mother, please agree, I beg you." My mother smiled and pinched her cheek, her voice soft and loving. All right, I agree. Tomorrow I'll have the tailor come to the house to measure you for new clothes. Thank you, mother. You're the best." They showed their affection for each other as if no one else was there. I stood to the side, silent and still. I thought I would grieve, would feel sorrow, but instead I watched them calmly, my heart untouched by any emotion. After all, though I had no parental love, I had my wet nurse, my brother, my own family. "Is she my sister?" The girl in fine silks walked up to me, her eyes sweeping over me with contempt. I wore a simple cotton robe. Though it was new, it was a world apart from the clothes and jewelry she wore. My mother glanced at me, just once, then frowned, her disgust all too obvious, and said in a cold, indifferent tone, "This is your sister." I called out softly, "Mother, elder sister." "Enough, Danhua, take her away." She paused, then asked, "Yusin, is there any empty courtyard next door?" "Madam, young miss, the cousin miss is staying in the courtyard next door, but there is a small empty courtyard in the same compound yonder," came the reply. Danhua said, "Then she'll stay in the same compound." "Danhua, take her there." I did not know where this compound was, nor did I have the right to choose or complain. My mother disliked me, my elder sister was arrogant and haughty, and Danhua, as a maid, had no respect for me whatsoever. When we arrived, I learned that this compound was where all my father's illegitimate daughters lived. The small courtyard assigned to me was not large, with only 3 rooms, and the air inside reeked of mildew. Danhua told the servants to clean it up and directed them to carry my things inside. I stood in the courtyard with my bundle in hand, waiting quietly. Some people peeked at me furtively, then quickly hid away. No one invited me to their courtyard to sit for a while, to have a cup of tea. "Second miss, it's all tidied up." I walked into the room. To put it nicely, it was simple and elegant. To put it plainly, it was shabby and poor. I did not care, though. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. I was insignificant, my words carried no weight, and a weak arm could not twist a strong thigh. It was better to be obedient, to live in peace, than to be beaten, made to stand in punishment, or forced to kneel. Danhua soon returned with 2 maids and an old woman, saying they were to serve me from now on, to obey my every order and errand. I could see they all loathed the thought of serving me, but had no choice. I sat in the room for a long while, and no one came in to pour me a cup of tea. I heard this one's a jinx, she brings misfortune to everyone around her. No way. I can't stay here. What if she curses me to death? I don't want to stay either. The 2 maids ran off. The old woman, though, slowly entered the room, bowed, and asked, "Miss, would you like a drink of water?" I shook my head, not intending to make things difficult for her. "Could you go fetch my luggage for me? I have a camellia plant, please bring it here first." "Yes, miss," she answered and left. Soon after, another round-faced maid arrived, seemingly very well-mannered. "This servant Siua greets you, miss, rise." I told her to fetch some water. I had traveled far and wide, with no proper wash, and I wanted to clean up and sleep for a while. At that moment, I was parched and starving. I had not had a single drop of water, much less a bite to eat, in my mother's presence before she'd cast me aside in disgust and sent me to this small courtyard. If I fell asleep, I would not feel the hunger or the thirst. Siwa was quick-handed. She soon brought a pot of tea for me to moisten my throat, then went out again and came back with pastries and fruit for me to eat first. By the time the old woman and the servants brought my camellia and luggage over, the hot water was ready. After I bathed, Siwa helped me dry my hair. "Miss, your hair is so well cared for." I thought of all the ways my wet nurse had tried to nurture this jet-black hair of mine, all the care and effort she'd put in. I smiled a happy smile. There was no feast to welcome my return. No family member had come to see me in person, and my mother had not sent me any silver to spend, no rewards of food or drink. I was no different from the other sisters in the compound. Everyone in the mansion knew that I, the second legitimate daughter, was unloved by my parents, disliked by my two elder siblings. I had no desire to fight for their affection, either. Before I left, my brother had given me 20 taels of silver, enough to last me a long time. I would only wait quietly for my unknown fate to unfold. Half a month after returning home, Siwa brought me my monthly allowance, 5 taels of silver. I held the silver, smiling joyfully. If I lived frugally, I could save 60 taels a year, enough to buy several acres of farmland in the countryside and build a house. Then I would find a way to send the money to my brother and ask him to buy the land and build the house for me first. If one day I had nowhere to go, having such a place to call home would spare me the hardship of wandering aimlessly, of being homeless. Siwa told me to take 1 tael to reward the servants. I looked at her, and she waited quietly. "Is this for you all?" Siwa shook her head. "Not for us, miss. For the others outside the compound, the kitchen maids, the storehouse keepers, the accountants, the maids around madam." As Siwa spoke, she looked at me, her eyes filled with pity. I knew why she felt that way. Unloved as I was, I had to take great pains to bribe these people, otherwise, my meals would be skimped on, I would never get hot water, or there would be none at all. The things allocated to me from the palace would either never reach my hands, or they would be broken and spoiled. I shook my head. It was just me, my wet nurse, and the maids who guarded me at the manor in the countryside. None of them could read or write. I paused, then asked earnestly, "Have you come to see if I am a suitable match? Are you going to marry me?" "But I haven't even had my hair-pinning ceremony yet. I'm still a child." My wet nurse said girls are still children before their hair-pinning ceremony. Only after it are they young ladies, old enough for marriage talks and to wed. Third young Master Gu did not answer my question. Instead, he asked, "What about you? Look at me now, would you be willing to marry me?" I thought long and hard, then asked, "Can I go out after marriage? Will you teach me to read and write? Will you hit me? Can you fetch my wet nurse and brother to live with us?" Third young Master Gu smiled. "Do you know I can barely walk? The imperial physician said if I don't find the antidote, I may only have a few years left to live." I shook my head. I truly didn't know any of this. No one told me. I've only seen mother once since being fetched back, and father and my other sisters only today. I live with the illegitimate daughters in the same compound. Third young Master Gu fell silent. He turned slightly and rummaged in a cloth bag hanging on his wheelchair, then took out a small porcelain box and handed it to me. "This is an ointment for bruises and pain. I've used it a few times. If you don't mind, it's yours." I certainly did not mind. My palm burned with a searing pain, utterly miserable. I took it at once and smiled at him brightly. "Third young master." "Thank you, it's just a small favor, Miss Wang." Third young Master Gu looked at me, his gaze lingering until my cheeks flushed red. I did not understand why he stared so intently, as if deliberating a momentous decision. After a long while, he spoke again. "Miss Wang, we are indeed here to talk of the marriage today. If you do not wish to marry me, I will tell the elders and call off the engagement." I clenched the porcelain box tightly in my hand. "Third young master, I have no choice but to agree. I was sent away at 4, and they ignored me for 10 years. Now they've fetched me back solely to marry you. My parents will never allow me to refuse. If you turn me down, I will either be sent back to the manor and locked up for the rest of my life, or married off to someone at random. Marrying a stranger would be lucky. If I were given to some old man as a concubine, that would be a living hell, a den of wolves and tigers. Then are you willing?" What choice do I have? A weak arm cannot twist a strong thigh. I came back alone, with only 2 maids and an old woman by my side, and I do not even hold my own indenture papers. To put it plainly, I am all by myself. I couldn't read a single character at the manor. My elder sister picked on me, making me recite the 3-character classic, a book I never learned, so she hit me without a second thought. I fell ill last night, burning with a fever and delirious. Siua went out to find a doctor. But no one would come. Today, no one has even asked if I am feeling better. The clothes I wear are too big, ill-fitting. The hair ornaments look pretty, but they're all fading. They care nothing for me. They left me for 10 years, then fetched me back to marry me, never once asking if I wanted to. I do not resist out of gratitude for their giving me life and raising me. Once I marry, I will never come back here easily. Third young master, if you have no one you love, then choose me. I eat very little, I have no demands for fine clothes, and I will never throw tantrums, though I am not like the young ladies of noble families who can play the cheen, chess, write calligraphy, paint, recite poems, and compose verses. I am excellent at growing flowers and plants. No flower or grass in my care ever dies. Third young master Gu asked, "You were not eager just now, why are you suddenly willing to marry me? If I do not marry you, I have no idea what will become of me. I might be sent back to the manor, married off at random, or even given to a wretched old man as a concubine. I am afraid, more afraid than anything, of never seeing my wet nurse and brother again. You said you were poisoned and do not have long to live. Then, for as long as you live, I will take the best care of you. And when you are gone, speak a few kind words for me. Let me live alone, or become a nun and live a quiet life of cultivation. At the very least, I can live a pure life. No longer bound by my parents' so-called kindness of raising me, the garden was filled with the fragrance of blooming flowers, and a soft breeze carried the sweet scent to my nose. I fell silent after speaking, and third young master Jiu was quiet for a long while. Then he stood up and bowed to me. I, Jiu Chengyang, sincerely agree to marry Miss Wang II. After our marriage, I will teach you to read and write. Before I die, I will arrange a way out for you, so that you will no longer be bound by anyone, and may live your life in peace and joy, as you wish." My eyes reddened at his words. After my wet nurse and brother, he was the first person who I thought would truly treat me well. I said hastily, "Then you must live for many more years. Find the antidote soon, and live to be 100 years old, if possible." On the day Jiu Chengyang and I's engagement was settled, Wang Yusin burst into my room, smashing everything in sight, and pointed at me, screaming, "How dare you? How could you ever deserve this?" She tried to hit me, but was held back. I huddled in the corner, trembling with fear. After her rage faded, she let out a cold laugh. "A fool and a dying invalid, you really are a match made in heaven." I tried to retort, but Siua clapped a hand tightly over my mouth. We both knew full well that if I dared to say a single word in protest, Siua and I would both be beaten black and blue that day. Before Wang Yusin left, she said, "Do you think that because you're back and marrying Jiu Chengyang, you're truly the second young miss of the Wang family? Do you think father and mother will love you? You're nothing but a jinx who brings misfortune to her parents. No one will ever love you." I disagreed with her words. I had never hoped for my parents' love. What did it matter if they loved me or not? I was not without love in my life. I had my wet nurse and brother, who doted on me dearly, even after the engagement was settled. My life in the Wang family did not improve. I was still an invisible person. Mother never sent for me to give me instructions on how to behave as a future wife of the Jiu family. I heard the steward was arranging my dowry, and I would take whatever he gave me, no more. I knew it was useless to fight for more. I would never win anyway. A seamstress from the dress shop came to take my measurements, then sent over a passable wedding dress. There was no talk of a grand wedding for the Wang family's daughter. The Jiu family seemed in a great hurry, so my wedding day was set for the 2nd day of the 10th lunar month, just 3 months away. Every day, I sat in my room and stared at my camellia plant. Siwa was even busier than I was, running back and forth to gather news. Then came the 13th day of the 8th lunar month. Mother sent Danhua to tell me, "You are not to go anywhere on Mid-Autumn Festival, stay in your yard at all times." The other sisters in the mansion all had new clothes to wear. I did not. They could go eat mooncakes and gather with father and his concubines. I could not. Siua felt indignant for me. But I truly did not care. I did not even want to go. No new clothes, no mooncakes, it was all right. Once I married, I would repay this so-called kindness of the Wang family, and after that, we would be strangers. Why bother asking for trouble? Early on the 15th, Jiyu Chengyang sent someone to bring me mooncakes, many flavors, and a small bottle of sweet Osmanthus wine, an Osmanthus sachet, and a tiny painting of Osmanthus flowers. When the moon rose high in the night sky, Siua and I ate mooncakes and sipped the wine. I rambled on with clumsy praises for the painting, then clutched the sachet and fell into a deep, sweet sleep. I had no presence in the Wang mansion at all, whether it was joyous celebrations or funerals. Nothing had anything to do with me. Only Jiyu Chengyang sent someone to bring me food every few days, and occasionally a small painting of one or two flowers, in bright, colorful hues, utterly lovely. I did not care if he had painted the flowers himself or not. I only needed to remember that he treated me well. I hoped he would live a long life, so I prayed for him every single day. Siua laughed and said I was being silly and superstitious. I smiled and did not argue with her. My wishes did not need to be known to everyone. Whether my heart was sincere or not, only I needed to know that. Then came the 27th day of the 9th lunar month, just a few days before my wedding. Mother sent for me. I bowed to her and stood a good distance away. She stared at me for a long while before speaking. You are not worthy of third young master Jiyu of the Jiyu family. I looked at her and asked, am I unworthy from the moment I was born? Am I unworthy because I did not strive hard enough? Or is it more sinful to give birth to a child and abandon them, to fail to raise and teach them? I pressed my lips together and said no more. If this marriage were not unbreakable, and if your elder sister were not soon to make a noble marriage, and those illegitimate daughters were not so beneath notice, this would never have fallen to you. A married daughter is like spilled water. You must obey your husband after marriage. Do not come back here for trivial matters from now on. The Wang family does not welcome you. I nodded. Madam, rest assured, I remember. What did you call me? Lady Wang's voice turned sharp. I looked at her in confusion and retorted, is that not what you mean? She could despise me and abandon me, could I not distance myself from her in return? Lady Wang took several deep breaths. You really are a debt collector, a heartless thing. She waved a hand. Your second aunt will teach you what to do next. As I walked out of the room, I heard her mutter, I should have drowned her when she was a baby. All these years, I've raised nothing but an ungrateful wolf. Even a dog would wag its tail for its master. But I was not a dog, I was a human being. With 7 emotions and 6 desires, I had no learning, but I had a heart to feel, eyes to see, and ears to hear. As you sow, so shall you reap. She never gave me a single drop of maternal love. Why should I grovel at her feet like a dog, begging for affection? When I met my second aunt for the first time, she made excuses for Lady Wang, saying she had been unwell. I just smiled at her, a sweet, obedient smile. My second aunt fell silent for a moment, then sighed. It will all be better after you marry. Yes, it will all be better after I marry. Third young master Jiyu said he would teach me to read and write, and even if he died, he would arrange a way out for me. Once I marry, I will no longer be a member of the Wang family, no longer have any ties to them. My dowry was not much, but for someone who had never seen the world, it was more than enough. My second aunt stared at the dowry list and fell silent again. Is there something wrong, second aunt? Your mother, I cannot read either, so I do not understand these things, but you will find out sooner or later, so I will not hide it from you. Aside from the betrothal gifts the Jiyu family gave, which you will take back with you, the things prepared for your dowry are all shoddy and cheap. It does not matter, I said. Madam said she will have no more contact with me after I marry. No one would want to throw a meat bun to a dog. She only sent me away back then, and did not strangle me. For that, I am already grateful to heaven and earth. From now on, we are strangers. Why hold on to resentment? My maids of honor were bought from outside, and had not been properly trained in manners, let alone court etiquette. My second aunt's face fell. Yuan, I'll give you a few maids as part of your dowry. Second aunt, I have no manners or shops to manage, nor silver to spare. I cannot afford to support too many people. Besides, Madam did not give me their indenture papers. After I marry into the Jiyu family, I will send them back. The only one I cannot bear to part with is Siua. If you can help me get her indenture papers, I will be forever grateful for your great kindness. My second aunt helped me get Siwa's indenture papers and those of the 4 maids and 2 old women as well. On my wedding day, very few people came to see me off from the Wang mansion. My half-sisters kept their distance, and Lady Wang gave me no manners, no shops, no silver for my dowry box. Master Wang and my 2 elder brothers looked at me with cold eyes, and I did not call out to them. Only my second aunt secretly slipped me a banknote of 1,000 taels, telling me to keep it safe for emergencies. No elder brother carried me out of the mansion on his back for the wedding. Jiyu Chengyang came to fetch me, but with his bad legs, he could not carry me either. All the rituals of obeying my father's and mother's teachings were skipped when I bade my parents farewell. They uttered a few dry words, then said, "Go and marry." It was the matchmaker who helped me walk out. When I reached the gate, a voice shouted, and it was my brother's. I wanted to lift my veil to see if he had come alone, or if my wet nurse was with him too, but the matchmaker held my hand down and pushed me into the bridal sedan chair. Outside, amid the crackle of firecrackers and the blare of Swana horns, my brother shouted twice more our secret signals. I could barely hold back my tears. I had wanted to call back, but remembered I was a bride, and must not make a fool of myself. Though I myself was already a joke, I did not care about being a joke as Wang Yuan, for this joke was not of my own making. I had done nothing wrong. It was the Wang family who were narrow-minded, who were in the wrong. But once I stepped out of the Wang mansion, I was the 3rd young mistress of the Jiyu family, and I would not bring shame to Jiyu Chengyang. The sedan chair swayed all the way to the Jiyu mansion, the firecrackers and Swana horns never ceasing. The matchmaker helped me down from the sedan chair, and I clutched the red silk sash tightly, stepping over the brazier of fire and following the footsteps ahead step by step. Then came the wedding ceremony. Bow to heaven and earth, bow to the elders, bow to each other as husband and wife. The ceremony was complete, and I was led to the bridal chamber. Jiyu Chengyang held my hand and walked a few steps, then sat down in his wheelchair. I could hear his painful gasps. Between 3rd young master, husband, and 3rd master, I chose 3rd master. 3rd master, are you all right? I'm fine. I never expected he had prepared a sedan chair for me, and told 4 old women to carry me to the new chamber. Later, I asked him why he had made such arrangements, and he said, "I am lazy enough to ride in a wheelchair myself. Why should I make you walk and suffer?" He was not lazy at all, he was in pain, and yet, he had married me into the Jiyu family with all the proper pomp and splendor. Because of his poor health, no one came to tease the bride and groom in the bridal chamber, nor was I made to sit alone for long. As soon as I returned to the bridal chamber, the veil was lifted. I let Siwa take off my phoenix crown for me. The crown was a gift from Jiyu Chengyang, and I had been utterly stunned when I received it. It was so beautiful. I had hugged it and slept with it for several nights. The wedding dress was prepared by the Wang family. I took it off and told Siwa to lock it in a chest, never to look at it again. I changed into light, comfortable clothes and sat nervously beside Jiyu Chengyang, whispering, "My brother has come to the capital." He was the one who shouted just now. He nodded, and called a servant in, telling him to go to the gate and invite my brother in for the wedding feast if he saw him. I cannot seat him at the main table. It does not matter. I am already overjoyed that my brother can enter the Jiyu mansion and drink my wedding wine. Of course, I did not dare to hope for a face-to-face meeting. After the feast, Jiyu Chengyang said, "This courtyard will be yours and mine from now on. The front courtyard is only separated from this one by a garden. If you need anything, send a maid to let me know, or come yourself. I will arrange for your reading and writing lessons in a few days." I nodded repeatedly, and I could feel my eyes shining with excitement, grinning like a fool. "Third master, thank you." Jiyu Chengyang did not share the bed with me that night. I slept alone. The room was spacious and bright, the ornaments exquisite. Every detail a testament to good taste and careful thought. The quilts and bedding on the bed were soft and fluffy, carrying a faint, pleasant fragrance. The maids and old women I had brought with me were useless, but the nanny Jiyu Chengyang sent to wait on me was extremely capable. Her capability was not in being harsh to me, but in being strict with the other servants, while treating me with the utmost respect and courtesy. "If you are tired, third young mistress, you may rest early. If not, You may read a book, there is no need to go out today. I could not read a single book, of course, I was illiterate. I asked her what I should call her. This old servant's husband's surname is Zhao, and I am third young master's wet nurse. Nanny Zhao, I said. May I call you that? Nanny Zhao smiled until her eyes crinkled into slits. It is my great fortune to be honored by the young mistress. Jiyu Chengyang had sent her to wait on me and help me. And I would never make things difficult for her, nor shoot myself in the foot. She had no intention of standing on ceremony or setting strict rules for me either. In short, my first day at the Jiyu family was extremely pleasant and happy, and I slept soundly through the night. As for not consummating the marriage, I did not give it a second thought, I was still too young. The next day came the tea ceremony. Jiyu Chengyang knew exactly what was in my dowry, and I had nothing worthy of note to offer. Everything was prepared by him. I listened to Nanny Zhao and memorized it all, who to present which gift to, in what order. I only needed to not make a single mistake. The tea ceremony went smoothly. The Jiyu family was large, but everyone seemed kind and amiable, no one targeted me on purpose. And all told me to live a good life with Jiyu Chengyang. My parents-in-law told me I only needed to pay them my respects on the 1st and 15th of each lunar month. You may stay in your courtyard or walk in the garden as you wish for the rest of the time. This is your home now. You may be as casual as you like. No need to be too restrained. If there is anything you need to do, we will send someone to let you know. On the way back to the courtyard, I smiled at Jiyu Chengyang, and he smiled back at me gently. Are you that happy? I nodded vigorously. There is something that will make you even happier. I raised my eyebrows, thinking he was going to start my reading and writing lessons at once, but instead, I saw my brother standing in the garden. Brother, I ran over to him in a hurry, about to fling myself into his arms, but he held out a hand and pressed it to my forehead. Brother, I stamped my foot in grievance. My brother laughed. You are married now, and still so childish. Even when I am 70 or 80, I will still be a child in your eyes. You have a sharp tongue, I can never win an argument with you. My brother's eyes were filled with smiles and doting affection. He smiled and withdrew his hand, taking a silk pouch from his arms and holding it out to me. This is a dowry gift from mother and your sister-in-law. I took it with a smile and opened it to look. There was silver inside. I did not lack silver now, but I did not hand it back to him in a hurry. I thought I would wait, and later exchange it for something else to send back to my wet nurse and sister-in-law with him. I turned my head to look at Jiyu Chengyang, whose eyes were full of gentle smiles. Yuan, ask your brother to stay for a meal. We will have it in the side hall of my courtyard. What do you think? I could not have wished for anything better, and thanked him hastily. Jiyu Chengyang took my brother by the sleeve and asked him in a low voice, how is the family? How is my wet nurse? How did you come this time? How long do you plan to stay? When will you go back? When will you come again? So many questions, which one should I answer first? Answer them one by one. No skipping. You are so overbearing, my brother said, reaching out as if to pinch my nose. Then pausing mid-air and patting my head gently instead. I had suffered so many grievances back at the Wang family, and yet my brother still treated me the same as always. My nose suddenly felt sour, and I almost shed tears. My brother was a guest, and Jiyu Chengyang accompanied him. He did not drink alcohol, but he poured wine for my brother, and asked him about the places he had been to as a caravan guard. He could pick up the conversation on every topic my brother mentioned. When they talked about a certain place, he knew it even better than my brother. My brother was still working as a caravan guard. Jiyu Chengyang asked, is it better than hunting? It earns more money, my brother said. I plan to bring some small trinkets back with me this time to see if I can sell them. If this business works out, I intend to make more trips. When I earn enough silver, I plan to move the whole family to the capital to live. But the capital is large and not easy to live in. Do you have a son or a daughter? Jiyu Chengyang asked again. A little rascal. When he heard I was coming to the capital, he clamored to come and see his aunt. I listened to my brother speak. My heart filled with joy and longing, and used the serving chopsticks to pile food onto his plate and Jiyu Chengyang's. Living in the capital is not a bad thing. I have a manor house outside the city. Empty, it can be yours to live in. If the child needs a tutor to start his studies, I can recommend one or two. My brother's hand, holding the wine cup, trembled, and wine spilled onto the table. He hurried to wipe it with his sleeve. Brother-in-law, This is too much. How can I accept this? Why not? I plan to transfer the ownership of that manor house to Yuan in a few days. You are her elder brother. What does it matter if my younger sister's elder brother lives in her empty manor house? Her nephew is my nephew too. Finding a tutor for my nephew is just a small favor. My brother stammered, unable to speak. I, however, smiled and said hastily, "Thank you, third master. You are so kind." I hurried to pour him more wine and ladle him soup, vowing to take the best care of him from now on, and to pray to heaven every day for him to live 100 years. Jiyu Chengyang smiled and said, "Yuan, eat your food too. Brother, help yourself." When my brother left, he was walking on air. He whispered to me, "Live a good life with your brother-in-law. Do not mind his poor health. What matters is that he truly treats you well." I nodded vigorously. I would definitely live a good life with Jiyu Chengyang, and never let him down. I have taken excellent care of the camellia plant you brought me. Brother, it will bloom in January or February next year. You must bring mother, sister-in-law, and the little one to see it then. If it is truly a rare variety, we can sell it and exchange the silver for brush, ink, paper, and inkstone for the little one. Good. After my brother left, I thought I should thank Jiyu Chengyang properly for all this. So I asked him if there was anything I could do for him. For example, the few chrysanthemum plants in his courtyard that were about to wilt, I could take care of them, prune and tend to them, and guarantee they would bloom better and bigger next year than this. Then I will trouble you, Yuan. It is no trouble at all. Third master, you have given me a new life. That is the greatest kindness of all. You also let me meet my brother again, and planned for my future. I want to do something for you too. I am not an ungrateful girl. I see and remember all the good things you do for me. I do not know if it was the right thing to bring you out of the Wang family and into the Jiyu family," he said, a trace of hesitation and melancholy in his voice. I cut him off at once. "Of course it was the right thing, third master. Do you know what I ate for 3 meals a day back at the Wang family? Do you know what the room I lived in and the bed I slept in were like? Did you know how many maids waited on me, how many new clothes I had, how much my monthly allowance was? For 3 meals a day, I had 1 meat dish, 1 vegetable dish, and 1 soup. Sometimes even that was barely edible. Either the rice was spoiled or the soup sour. The 3 rooms I lived in didn't even have a full set of tables and stools, all with obvious mends and patches. The weather's grown colder these days, yet I still cover myself with the thin summer quilt I had. Lucky for me I came when the weather was warm, otherwise I'd have frozen to death this winter. I had 2 maids and 1 old woman to wait on me, but apart from Siua, I barely saw the others from one day to the next. My monthly allowance was 5 taels of silver, and Siua had to run back and forth several times just to get it. That 5 taels was soon whittled down. 1 tael had to be given as bribes, otherwise I might not get a single meal or a drop of hot water. There were other half-sisters in the same compound, but not one would befriend me. When I spoke to them, they'd scatter like they'd seen a ghost, snickering as they ran. As for Wang Yusin, there's no need to say more. She'd barge straight into my room and smash everything in sight. If her maids hadn't held her back, she'd have hit me too. The Wang family was never my home, and the Wangs were never my family. Lady Wang said a married daughter is like spilled water. Told me not to come back for anything, big or small, lest I bring her bad luck. If I really were a jinx who brings misfortune to her parents, they'd have died months ago, wouldn't they? My wet nurse and brother all praise me. They say I'm the finest girl there is. I'm wonderful with growing flowers and plants. My wet nurse says only those with a kind heart, blessed by heaven, can connect with all things green and growing. I'm no jinx. I took a deep breath, squatted down in front of Jiyu Chengyang, placed my hand on his knee, and looked up at him. But apart from my wet nurse and brother, no one was willing to lend me a hand. Siua always tells me to endure, to hold back. If I don't, both of us will be ruined. Only you stretched out your hand to me, pulled me out of that Wang family place. A prison worse than a den of tigers and wolves. Third master, don't blame yourself. Being able to come to your side, I think it's a blessing I've earned over several lifetimes. I'm so happy I could scream. Last night was the most peaceful, restful night I've had since coming back to the capital. I don't have to worry anymore about being dragged out and burned or buried like a jinx. I ate until my stomach was stuffed full for all 3 meals today, because the food was so rich, so delicious. My eyes grew wet as I looked at Jiyu Chengyang. I rarely cry, really, except for the time Wang Yusin hit my palm with a ruler. It hurt so much I couldn't hold it in. I never cried when the Wangs pushed me around and bullied me in secret. I didn't cry when I had bad food to eat, because at least I had something to eat. I didn't cry when my monthly allowance was cut off after just 1 month of the 5 tails, because I knew I'd escape that cage soon enough. And I still had the 20 tails my wet nurse and brother gave me for emergencies. But at this moment, I want to cry so badly, especially when Jiyu Chengyan's big hand fell on my head and patted it gently. A gesture of comfort and pity both. When the tears fell, I hurried to wipe them away. Why are you crying? Jiyu Chengyang couldn't help but ask. This isn't crying, not sadness, not at all. These are tears of joy, tears of being reborn. I've always had a way with words. I'm not stupid at all, I just lack experience. Haven't seen the world outside, trapped by that one little house and the so-called grace of being raised. Jiyu Chengyang sighed and took out a handkerchief, handing it to me. If you're happy, then don't shed tears. It's not good for a girl to cry all the time. I took the handkerchief at once and wiped my tears, saying earnestly, I know I'll cry my good fortune away if I keep this up. I never planned to go back to the Wang family for the 3-day return visit, and Jiyu Chengyang didn't mention it either. But my mother-in-law, Lady Jiyu, sent for me and asked a few questions. Madam, she never liked me. Before I married, she told me not to come back for anything, big or small. Third Master's health is poor. What if he tires himself out traveling back and forth? It's better we don't go, isn't it? Lady Jiyu fell silent for a moment before asking, did she really treat you that horribly? I don't know if it counts as horrible, really. She never did anything in secret. Anyone could find out with a little asking. I hadn't meant to talk about Jiyu Chengyan's condition, but I knew I wouldn't come to the main courtyard often from now on, so I asked, Mother, how did Third Master get hurt? Is there really no cure for the poison in his body? Sigh, it's not that there's no cure at all, just that the medicine guide is impossible to find. We've sent so many people out over the past 2 years, spent so much silver, and still can't find it. He tells us not to bother anymore, but this child, come sit by my side, let me tell you something. I sat down next to Lady Jiyu, and she said, you never saw him in his prime, bright and noble, as gentle as moonlight, a young man of unparalleled grace. If you had, you'd understand. Now he's fallen from the clouds into the dust. My poor boy. When Lady Gu's tears fell, I hurried to wipe them away. How hard it must be for him to keep going like this. That eldest young miss of the Wang family has no heart. A betrothal made by the elders shouldn't be broken lightly. True, but when Sanlang was hurt, we went to ask for a divorce, and she refused. Why did she refuse? Because she was afraid we were lying to her, so she dragged it out with all sorts of excuses. When she saw Sanlang was truly dying, she flat out said she wouldn't marry him. Vile, hateful woman. I cursed her angrily, pounding my fist on the Arhat bed in frustration. I wish I could fight her, but I'm not strong enough, otherwise I'd have come to blows with her right then and there. Lady Jiyu laughed at that. Though, lucky for her she's blind. The Wang family sent you instead, and we're grateful for it. We knew the Wangs had another daughter, sent away to the country over 10 years ago. I wanted to find a wife for Sanlang, but he insisted on meeting you himself, asking your opinion. After he met you, he came home and fell silent for 2 days, then he told the servants to tidy up a courtyard for you, and took out all his old books to clean and air them out. We don't mind spending all the silver in the world on him, and we don't believe a word of that jinx nonsense about you. We just hope that after you marry into the Jiyu family, he'll have something to do, be busy every day so he has no time to grieve, so he can pull himself out of this despair soon. The poison can't be cured, but it can be eased. My heart ached for him suddenly, a sharp, terrible ache for all the effort Jiyu Chengyang had put in for me. We will find a cure. If we can't find the medicine guide, we'll look for it ourselves, send people to dig in the mountains, post notices to buy it if it's something rare, something no apothecary has ever seen. We'll buy it all, and then I'll grow it myself. Mother, I'm wonderful with growing flowers and plants, you have to believe me. I will grow the medicine guide that can cure Third Master's poison. Lady Jiyu stared at me for a moment, then pulled me into her arms, patting my back gently. All right, from now on, I'll leave Sanlang in your care. I nodded vigorously. It's just a matter of keeping him busy, isn't it? I'll study reading and writing every day, and if that's not enough to keep him occupied, I'll beg him to teach me to paint, to take me out of the mansion to play. We'll buy a manor somewhere. A special one just for growing rare medicinal herbs. We don't have to worry about spending silver on it if we grow the herbs well. We'll earn 10 times, 100 times what we spent back someday. I never expected Lady Gu to give me a manor on the spot. It backs onto a mountain, with a stream running in front, over 400 mu of farmland, more than 1,000 mu of hillside, even 2 small forests. I'm giving it to you now. From now on, it's yours to grow medicinal herbs on, Yuan. Sanlang is in your hands. I nodded dumbly, still in a daze. How much silver must a manor this big be worth? It's mine. The words felt light as air, almost unreal. When I told Jiyu Chengyang about it, he smiled. Mother is far wealthier than you think, and she has plenty of capable people at her disposal. She knows everything about what happened to you at the Wang family. You can't hide that from her. I blinked. So she'd already asked around, found out everything. There's one more thing I need to tell you, he said, about your dowry. Apart from the betrothal gifts the Jiyu family sent, the Wangs didn't spend a single copper on your dowry. All the silver for those things came from the Jiyu family. I had my wet nurse calculate it. We gave 10,000 taels. And the Wangs only bought 5,000 taels worth of things with it. What? I shouted, my voice rising. How dare they be so shameless? I stormed around the room in a rage, stamping my feet repeatedly, grinding my teeth as I cursed them for their black hearts and rotten souls, silently wishing the Wang family would fall to ruin soon, that the 5,000 taels would buy them their coffins. But my heart ached so badly over it that I ate an extra half bowl of rice for dinner, and Jiyu Chengyang laughed at me, drinking an extra half bowl of soup too. Since we weren't going back to the Wang family for the visit, no one woke me up early the next morning. Nanny Zhao told the maids. The young mistress is still growing, let her sleep as much as she wants, wake her when she stirs. I had bird's nest soup for the first time in my life that morning. It was sweet, not particularly delicious, but not bad either, and just because it was my first time, I loved it all the more. I ate lunch with Jiyu Chengyang, practically shoveling the food into my mouth, while he picked up a chopstick or two of food for me every now and then. He didn't eat much, mostly just drinking soup. His meals always plain and light. Nanny Zhao told me, when he first found out there was no cure for his poison, he didn't speak a single word for over a month. 4 months. He only drank soup, not a single grain of rice or bite of meat. He wasted away to skin and bones. He only started eating again when he finally came to terms with it. He's such a poor thing, such a good man, my third master. I will grow so many rare medicinal herbs. I'll grow the medicine guide he needs, no matter what. I have a study now, in Jiyu Chengyan's courtyard. The brush, ink, paper, and inkstone on the desk. Jiyu Chengyang took me to the Jiyu family's storeroom to pick them out myself. They're all bright, colorful, exquisitely beautiful. I love them so much. Tomorrow is the day I start my formal studies. I went to bed earlier than anyone else, tossing and turning for ages before I finally fell asleep. When I woke up, the first thing I asked Siua was, "What time is it? Is it dawn yet?" I got up earlier than anyone else, of course. I dressed and tidied myself up, ate a good breakfast, then sat in the study waiting. When I couldn't sit still any longer, I touched everything, polished everything with a handkerchief, wiping every corner clean. By the time Jiyu Chengyang got up, I'd wiped the entire study from top to bottom, washed the inkstone and the brush washer several times over. "Third master, let's start." He stood behind me, wrapping his hand around mine, and wrote my name on the rice paper. Yuan, Mo Dao Sang Uwan, Wei Xia Shong Man Tian. He said my name must come from this line of poetry. I didn't understand what it meant, so he explained it to me. "Do not say the evening sun is late, its glow still paints the sky full of rosy clouds. Don't give up halfway," he said. "Even when you're old, you can still accomplish great things." Then he wrapped his hand around mine again and wrote a few more words. "A woman must respect herself, love herself, strive for self-improvement, forge ahead with resolve. Yuan, these are my wishes for you. I hope you can live by these words. Respect yourself, love yourself, strive for self-improvement, forge ahead with resolve, because I can't stay by your side for many more years, can't protect you for the rest of your life. When I'm gone, You'll have to rely on yourself, what I leave you. You'll only be able to keep if you have the skill to do so. I clung tightly to him, sobbing into his chest. Then you must live for many more years. I'm a little slow. I won't learn things quickly. You have to live long enough to teach me everything. You have to be responsible for me. He sighed after a long moment. Very well. I had the words Jiyu Chengyang wrote framed and hung them in my room, looking at them every day to encourage myself. I have a good memory. And memorized the 3-character classic in no time. Jiyu Chengyang would explain the meaning once, and I'd understand it at once. He said I was a quick learner, and as a reward, he'd take me out to play. Going out to play, my eyes grew wide, my mouth stretched into a grin from ear to ear. I couldn't hide my joy at all. I tidied myself up in a flutter of excitement, packing several sets of clean clothes. We weren't just going out for a little while, we were going to stay away for a few days. I ran back to the courtyard at full speed, telling Siwe to pack our things quickly, and took some silver with us too. Nanny Zhao warned me not to run off anywhere once we were outside, to stay close to Jiyu Chengyang, while directing the servants to pack and load the trunks. They were busy, and I didn't idle either. Hearing we were going to stay at the manor, and that Jiyu Chengyang would likely paint while we were there, I made sure to pack plenty of pigments. Dozens of people accompanied us on this trip, several carriages, maids, old women, bodyguards all in tow. I sat in Jiyu Chengyang's wide, spacious, warm carriage, staring at him with bright eyes. Once we're out of the city, you can lift the curtain and look around. Jiyu Chengyang smiled. Amham. When we left the city, I lifted the curtain, and the cold wind rushed in. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, catching an indescribable scent. Perhaps it was freedom, or perhaps pure joy and happiness. I looked at Jiyu Chengyang. Thank you, third master. Jiyu Chengyang smiled, sipping his tea, and asked, do you want to ride a horse? I can't, I'll take you. His manservant Qingyu led over a tall, mighty white horse. Looking at him with misty eyes, I thought to myself, how dashing and handsome Jiyu Chengyang must have been once. I'm sure he hadn't ridden a horse since the accident. He was doing this just for me. The carriage was pulled close, and Jiyu Chengyang, tall as he was, mounted the horse easily. Though his brow furrowed for a moment, no doubt from the pain, but soon his eyes softened, and he held out a hand to me. Yuan, come here. He wanted to ride this horse, wanted to stand tall again. I couldn't dampen his spirits at a time like this, let alone refuse. I placed my hand in his, and he pulled me up onto the horse, setting me in front of him. Wow, I gasped. Third master, we're so high up. He urged the horse into a gentle trot. I heard him stifle a groan. Third master. Does it hurt? I can bear it. He didn't let the horse run far before reining it to a slow walk. I leaned back against his chest, holding his hand. Third master, you'll get better. I know you will. I'll definitely get better, Jiyu Chengyang said, nuzzling the top of my head with his chin. I turned my head and looked up at him, grinning like a fool. He stared at me blankly for a moment, then called out, Qingyu, bring the brush and ink. Master, you're going to paint? Yes. With just simple black ink on white rice paper, he painted a horse, a tall man holding a petite woman in his arms. The woman tilted her head up, the man bowed his head slightly, and both had smiles in their eyes, pure, bright smiles, as if they'd caught a glimpse of hope, of a future. Third master, is this you and me? It is. Third master, it's beautiful. I only found out from Qingyu later. After the accident, Jiyu Chengyang had not ridden a horse, nor held a brush, let alone read or painted. He'd sunk into such deep despair, nothing could reach him. It was me, blazing like a fire, who had slowly woken his lifeless heart back up. We were going to the manor Lady Jiyu had given me. It was cold outside, but it hadn't snowed yet, and luckily, there'd been no rain lately. The dirt road was bumpy, but at least the carriage wheels wouldn't sink into the mud, even jostled about. I was happy. Jiyu Chengyang couldn't ride the horse with me all the time, but I could ask Qingyu to lead it for me. Sitting on the horse's back, watching villages, trees, rivers pass by, I trembled all over with joy. I had to be brave, learn to ride a horse, not fear falling and breaking a leg, not fear being stepped on by a horse's hoof. The feeling of galloping on a horse must be wonderful beyond words. We traveled slowly, stopping to stay the night with a peasant family. The family was simple and honest, the food plain and unrefined, But I thought it was delicious. Jiyu Chengyang still ate very little. And he still loved soup the most. Chicken soup simmered slowly over a small fire, served with scallion noodles and a handful of greens. It was the most delicious midnight snack ever. I could eat a big bowl, while he only had a small half. He said he'd once been very strict with himself, not drinking a single drop of water after a certain hour, never touching midnight snacks at all. Now, though, seeing how I savored the food, he couldn't help but taste a little too. Living a free, unhurried life like mine, it seemed, had its own charm. Staying with the peasant family, the quilts were changed to the soft, fragrant ones I liked, and I slept more soundly than ever. The next day, I sat in the carriage bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, facing Jiyu Chengyang and reciting the three-character classic. I'd already memorized it perfectly, but he made me recite it over and over again. Read a book 100 times, and its meaning will reveal itself. He had a whole set of such wise sayings, all sounding perfectly reasonable, so I recited, and recited. We traveled slowly on the road, stopping in towns to stay at inns. Jiyu Chengyang saw my eyes lingering outside the inn, and knew I wanted to go for a walk. I nodded vigorously. Let's settle in first, then I'll take you out to see the town. Thank you, third master. Jiyu Chengyan's room was right next to mine. I'd planned to just wash up quickly, but Siwa urged me not to. If Jiyu Chengyang kept himself spotless while I was messy and unkempt, he might grow tired of me after a while. I thought Siwa was absolutely right, though I didn't think I was dirty. Who didn't like a clean, fresh, sweet-smelling young girl? The small town wasn't big, with only a few shops, and a casual walk would take you to the end of it. But an old woman at the alley mouth was selling sesame cakes and wontons, and the smell was divine. Third master, I swallowed hard, tugging at his sleeve. Jiyu Chengyang told Qingyu to push his wheelchair over. We ordered more than a dozen sesame cakes and several bowls of wontons. Jiyu Chengyang only ate one bite of a sesame cake, 2 wontons, and sipped 3 or 4 spoonfuls of soup. He even praised the taste, a rare thing. I, on the other hand, ate 2 sesame cakes and a whole bowl of wontons, and if I hadn't feared indigestion, I would have eaten more. Granny, do you set up your stall here every day? My home's in the alley at the back. I'm here every day as long as the wind and rain hold off. Been selling here for decades now, the old woman said, smiling warmly. As she spoke, an old man came over with a bunch of freshly cut green onions from his home, then smiled and collected our bowls to wash them at the side. They were clearly an old couple. Granny, do many people come to the town to sell medicinal herbs around here? Tomorrow's the market day. Herbal pickers from the nearby villages all come to sell their herbs, and apothecaries from the county town come to buy them too. It's quite lively. If you young lady aren't in a hurry to leave, you can stay and join in the fun. I looked at Jiyu Chengyang, and he said, then we'll stay one more day, and leave the day after tomorrow. It was my first time going to a country market, and I was filled with anticipation. I wasn't hungry after eating the sesame cakes and wontons, but the innkeeper was quite the businessman, saying one of his cooks was excellent at roasting meat, and asking if we'd like to try some. Third master, let's have roasted meat. Jiyu Chengyang didn't eat a single bite, but Siwa, Qingyu, and I ate until our stomachs were stuffed to the brim. Having to hold each other up to walk, it was that delicious. I made a deal with Jiyu Chengyang. We'd have roasted meat again tomorrow night, and once more when we came back. I hoped he'd try a bite or two then. Jiyu Chengyang shook his head helplessly at our stuffed faces, only saying we mustn't eat like that next time. It would do our stomachs no good. Ham, I nodded repeatedly. It was just the first time I'd tasted such delicious roasted meat. I couldn't help myself, I was greedy. And so happy that I'd eaten too much without realizing it. To avoid indigestion, Siwa and I stood in the room for half the night, until we were nearly nodding off. As I lay down, I told Siwa I'd never overeat like that again. The next morning, the innkeeper prepared chicken kanji, fresh and tender, served with his own pickled vegetables. It was absolutely delicious, and I ate a whole bowl. I was about to get a second when I felt Jiyu Chengyang's calm gaze on me. Just a small half bowl more, then. Jiyu Chengyang said softly, today's the market, there will be all kinds of snacks to eat. Are you really still going to have kanji? Oh right. How could I forget such an important thing? It was all my fault for never having been to a market, not even knowing there'd be snacks to buy there. I slowly set down my chopsticks and spoon. My heart already flying off to the market. The town was small, but the market was crowded with people, and they were selling all manner of things I'd never seen before. The bamboo woven wares looked incredible. I would have bought one of everything if I could have carried it all. There were toads carved from bamboo roots with inlaid eyes, each with a different pose, and they weren't even expensive. I looked at Jiyu Chengyang, third master. Can I buy them all? Buy whatever you like. I noticed that Jiyu Chengyang would frown a little when I bought food, but he never objected when I bought all these little trinkets. The bodyguards with us carried bamboo baskets slung over their shoulders, filled with all the little things Jiyu Chengyang had bought for me, happiness I'd never known since I could remember. A man laid out some things from his basket on the ground, saying they were medicinal herbs he dug up from the deep mountains, but no one knew what kind they were. Some people thought they were strange and asked a few questions, but no one bought them, probably because the man was asking a high price. I looked at Jiyu Chengyang. What we needed most right now was rare medicinal herbs like this. Qingyu stepped forward at once to ask the price, and I followed, curious. I busted my tail to dig these up from the deep mountain forest. The man said, when they bloom in spring, they're beautiful, smell lovely too. I sold a few clumps back in spring, but none as big as these. If you like 2 taels of silver and they're yours. I hurried to ask, what color are the flowers? They start off white with a pink tinge, then slowly turn a deep pink as they bloom. Jiyu Chengyang told Qingyu to buy them, and I asked again, you spend all your time wandering the deep mountains and forests, you must know a lot of medicinal herbs, right? I won't hide it from you, young lady. Gathering herbs is how I make my living. I sold all the herbs I picked a few days ago. I have no idea what kind of plant this is. The apothecaries won't take it, so I'm just selling it as a flower or grass. Then you must have seen plenty of rare flowers and plants in the mountains, haven't you? If you come across any more next time, could you dig them up and bring them out? We'll buy them, as long as the price is fair. The man's face lit up with joy at once. You really mean it? Anything at all, anything at all. I nodded. And Jiyu Chengyang nodded too. That's wonderful news. You have no idea how many flowering plants there are in the deep mountains. But they're not the same as medicinal herbs, the apothecaries won't buy them, so I dare not dig up too many. If you really want all of them, I'll dig them up whenever I find them. Rest assured, I won't ask for an exorbitant price. Qingyu made arrangements with him, agreeing on how often we'd collect the plants, and telling him to dig them up with the soil around their roots to keep them from dying of thirst. Jiyu Chengyang took me for a walk around the market, and we came back with our hands full. Back at the inn, I started sorting through all the little trinkets I'd bought. Who would believe I even bought a whole box of colorful, vibrant stones with such a delicate, poetic beauty? Jiyu Chengyang said they were rainflower stones. I had no idea what rainflower stones were. But they were truly beautiful, like nothing I'd ever seen before. I'll make a pendant out of this one, a sachet ornament out of this one, and a pair of earrings out of these two. I picked out a more sedate-looking one, held it up to Jiyu Chengyang, and gestured, third master, I'll braid a fan pendant out of this one for you. Wouldn't it look lovely hanging on your fan in summer? It would need a big fan to match, Jiyu Chengyang said, laughing. I thought the rainflower stone was indeed a little too big. If I really made it into a fan pendant, I'd just braid it for fun and not give it to him. Even if it couldn't be a fan pendant, braiding it and hanging it on the wall or by the window would surely look exquisite. If you don't mind the trouble, Yuan, you can braid a few more. If third master really likes them, of course I'll braid more. I love doing it. I smiled and sorted through the stones some more, my mind brimming with ideas. I pulled out colorful cotton threads, matched them up, and quickly braided a waist pendant, holding it out to Jiyu Chengyang. Third master, look, isn't it pretty? Does it match your robe? Jiyu Chengyang took it, gestured with it carefully, and nodded slightly. It suits perfectly. I tied the waist pendant on for him. His original one was a piece of exquisite green jade. I thought the braiding on it looked a little old, so I re-braided it with new threads. Jiyu Chengyang praised me. Yuan, you're so deft with your hands. I know so many braiding patterns. Just you wait and see. Third master, I'll make pendants out of every single rainflower stone in this box. I made one for each of the maids around me, like Siyue, but not for the bodyguards. They were all men, except Qingyu, who asked for 2 for his younger sister. I put the rest away. planning to give them to my family when we got back to the capital. These things aren't worth much, it's just a small token of my affection. For the sake of their beauty, Siwa fawned over hers for 2 days, then put it away and never looked at it again. Only Jiyu Chengyang wore his waist pendant every day, and even asked me to braid a few more in different patterns and colors so he could change them out. What was supposed to be a few days' journey turned into nearly 10 days with all our stops and starts. We were lucky, though it didn't rain a single step of the way, and only started drizzling when we got close to the manor. An autumn rain brings a chill, let alone in the days leading up to winter. I thought I even felt a few snowflakes mixed in with the rain. I lifted the carriage curtain, pushed open the wooden window, and a blast of cold air rushed in. I quickly closed the window and fixed the curtain. It was freezing outside. When we got to the manor, there would be earth dragons and fire pits, and we could roast sweet potatoes then. I sighed with longing just thinking about it. Have you been to this manor before, Third Master? I came here once with Mother years ago, to stay for a while. The fish in the stream by the gate are especially fresh and tender, stewed with tofu. The soup is absolutely delicious. The tofu soaks up the fresh fish flavor and is so soft and smooth. I couldn't help swallowing hard, and quickly wiped the corner of my mouth to keep from drooling. Jiyu Chengyang laughed. Look how eager you are. When we get to the manor, I'll tell the servants to catch some fish and make the soup for you. Just one thing, don't be greedy. I nodded vigorously, took his arm, and acted coquettishly. You're the best, Third Master. The manor was large, with a village of dozens of tenant families living on its land. They made their living from the manor's fields. We lent them our farmland, and they gave us a tenth or two of their grain harvest. They were the Jiyu family's tenants, and from now on, mine. Are they good, honest people? Jiyu Chengyang asked. The steward of the manor was a lean old man, already past his 50th year. He had 3 sons, all married with children, and many grandchildren and great-grandchildren, a truly blessed family with children and grandchildren around him. His whole family lived in a small courtyard next to the main manor house. I received word of your coming, Third Master, and have already had the entire manor cleaned from top to bottom. The earth dragons in the main courtyard are already lit. When he looked at me, he first bowed, then asked respectfully, Young mistress, is there anything you don't eat, or anything you particularly like? I looked at Jiyu Chengyang, and he said helplessly, Go check the stream and see if you can catch a few fish, stew a pot of fish and tofu soup, and make a few side dishes. The young mistress has no dietary restrictions, just nothing too spicy. Besides the steward, there were 2 old women and their families living on the manor. Acting as his assistants, the entire manor was spotlessly clean, and it felt so pleasant to be there. The earth dragons in the main house were lit, and walking inside was warm and cozy, pure bliss. This house is so comfortable. I'd never lived in such a nice place in the 10 years at the Wang family's manor. The maids there had never treated me with such respect either. I even thought the sweet soup served at the manor was delicious. And the wheat cakes too, especially when the wheat cakes were roasted over the charcoal fire. The outside charred and crispy, sweet and fragrant. The fish and tofu stew was simply divine, and I ate 2 full bowls. If Jiyu Chengyang hadn't cleared his throat a few times to remind me, I could have eaten a third. Uncle Hu, can we have fish and tofu stew again for lunch tomorrow? If the young mistress likes it, I'll tell the kitchen to make it. The young mistress can also try the deep-fried fish, even the bones are fried crispy. My mouth watered at the thought. I'd eaten the dried small fish my brother had brought me from his travels, which were also crispy. You could bite down and chew the bones right up. Then you can arrange it, Uncle Hu. I'll try everything delicious on the table first, then decide which one I like the most and have it more often. Jiyu Chengyang and I lived in adjacent rooms, and instead of beds, the manor had kangs. I'd gone to look. They burned firewood at the back of the house to heat the kangs, then laid out thick mattresses, and they were warm all night long. We lazed about for only 1 day before I had to start my reading and writing lessons again. In the warm, cozy room, I held the 3-character classic and read it earnestly, memorizing what each character looked like. Jiyu Chengyang said once I'd read enough and memorized their forms, I'd start copying them, and finally writing them from memory. I read hard, and Jiyu Chengyang read a book beside me. I'd flipped through his book once, and only recognized a few characters. He was truly a man of immense talent, so amazing. I had to work hard at my lessons, learn to read and write as many characters as he did, I didn't dream of becoming a talented lady. I just wanted to make the most of this chance to study, not waste the time Jiyu Chengyang was taking to teach me. Despite his pain, "You've been reading for a long time," he said. "Go out and play for a while." I shook my head. I didn't really want to go out. The outside was fun, but if I left, Jiyu Chengyang would be all alone in this room. "Third master, teach me how to play chess instead." "You really don't want to go out and play?" I shook my head firmly. "It's freezing outside. It's much nicer and warmer in the house." Jiyu Chengyang fell silent for a moment, then looked at me with an unusually gentle gaze. He smiled softly. "Go play if you want to. You're at an age where you should be carefree and play to your heart's content. A young girl shouldn't cooped up in a room all the time. Go play, and let me have a little peace and quiet too." I glared at him. "Are you tired of me being too noisy?" I'd even felt sorry for him, all alone and lonely. "Hey, then I'll go play." If he thought I was noisy, I thought he was too quiet and boring. I took Siua with me, and called the steward uncle whose young son and daughter. They said they'd take me to the stream to catch fish. It was my first time using a bamboo fish trap. We set the trap at a narrow spot in the stream, then took bamboo poles from the upper reaches and thrashed them in the water. I watched in amazement as the fish swam over in a hurry and darted into the bamboo trap. They're in. I couldn't help but wonder, do these fish breed on their own, or are they raised on purpose? Uncle whose younger daughter said, "They all breed on their own. The fish in that pond over there are the ones we raise. We cut grass to feed them every day." There wasn't much difference in taste between the wild fish and the farmed ones. If I had to say, the wild fish were smaller, and the farmed ones were bigger. I wasn't a food connoisseur who could tell how many spices were in a dish or what heat it was cooked at. I just wanted to satisfy my taste buds, plain and simple. Either it was delicious, or it wasn't. Uncle whose daughter told me, "I've been to the mountains. There are all kinds of wild fruits and game in the forests there. Young mistress, do you want to go to the mountains?" I was curious, but I had no desire to risk danger. Not to mention the deep mountains and forests. I wouldn't even go to the tenant family's houses if they were far from the manor. I didn't like to suspect people of being bad, but I knew only too well that human nature couldn't stand the test. I was weak, unable to even lift a chicken. If a bad person set their sights on me, it would be a death wish. I had no intention of seeking my own demise. When Uncle whose daughter first talked about how wonderful the mountains were, I didn't suspect her of having bad intentions, but when I refused, and she kept going on and on about it, I knew she was up to no good. It was too cold to even want to go out. If it were spring, though, I might take a walk in the mountains, then I'd have an excuse to look for medicinal herbs. I just couldn't understand why she wanted to harm me. I couldn't deal with her on my own, so I went back to the house, and when no one else was around, I told Jiyu Chengyang about it. "Third master, what do you think she's up to? Does she want to harm me?" Jiyu Chengyang was a gentle man, rarely frowning. He was well-read and worldly wise. I couldn't see through Hu Xiaomei's scheming, but he surely did. He did not say a single bad word about her, nor rebuke her in the least. Instead, he said softly to me, "We'll stay 2 more days, and head back when the weather clears up." "Third master, why won't you tell me the details? If you don't, I'll never know or understand. And I might be tricked again next time." Jiyu Chengyang told me to close the window. I ran over to shut it at once, sat opposite him, and looked at him earnestly. "Does it upset you to know Hu Xiaomei wants to harm you?" I shook my head. "No, it doesn't. I have no connection to her at all. I'll leave after a few days. And who knows when I'll come back. We have no bond, no affection. She tried to harm me and failed. I'll stay far away from her from now on, and not give her another chance." "Have you ever thought of getting revenge?" Jiyu Chengyang asked again. I nodded. "I don't know how to get revenge. Should I hit her, or tell her father on her? If I tell her father, will she be punished? I've never been through anything like this." "You don't have to do anything," he said. "Don't run around aimlessly from now on either. I'll teach you how to play chess." "All right." I nodded obediently at once. Hu Xiaomei came to call me a few more times, and I turned her down every time, saying I had to study and recite my lessons. The look she gave me when she left was dark and frightening. I even had a nightmare about it that night. I dreamed I was thrown into the deep mountains and forests, torn to pieces and devoured by jackals, tigers, and leopards one after another. Young mistress, Siua woke me up. and I stared blankly, unable to snap out of it. It was not until Jiyu Chengyang walked in, wrapped in a robe, that I threw myself into his arms and choked out. "Third Master, let's go home, it's terrifying here. If we stay any longer, what if I can't help but snap at Hu Xiaomai, or tell her father on her, or even punish her with my own hands? None of that is what I want to do. I've known since I was a child that it's not easy being a girl. If Hu Xiaomai were a boy, I would not show her any mercy. Let's leave tomorrow. We won't take the road we came on, we'll take a detour and wander around other places. I also want to visit some friends and former classmates." I nodded vigorously, looking up at Jiyu Chengyang. He raised his hand and wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. "Don't cry, go to bed early. I can't sleep. As soon as I close my eyes, all I see are jackals, tigers, and leopards, pouncing at me with their sharp claws, tearing me apart and eating me bite by bite. Then don't sleep. Tell the servants to pack our things, we'll leave at dawn." Jiyu Chengyang doted on me, loved me dearly. He said he'd stay with me, and he really did. We sat side by the window, and by the light of a few candles, he taught me to play the simple game of Gamoku. I racked my brains, but I could never beat him. I cheated, going from having 5 extra pieces to 10, 20, 30. In the end, I simply swapped the black and white pieces, and even snuck extra pieces onto the board. I lost miserably, utterly hopelessly. "Third Master, why don't you cover your eyes?" Jiyu Chengyang looked at me as if I were a fool. He said, "If I cover my eyes, are you sure you can win? What if I do?" Siyue didn't know how to play chess, but Qingyu did, and he knew exactly how to tell Jiyu Chengyang where I placed my pieces, and where Jiyu Chengyang placed his. I had 30 more pieces than Jiyu Chengyang, and he even let me make the first 3 moves, and then I stared at the last piece in my hand, flew into a rage, and threw it onto the chessboard. I quit. I huffed and got on the carriage, sitting next to Jiyu Chengyang without saying a word to him. He let out a muffled laugh, and I glared at him fiercely. "How dare you laugh?" I cheated, racked my brains, even snuck pieces, and I still lost. He managed to hold back his laughter then, but Qingyu did not, wearing a look that said my young master could never lose. It was utterly crushing. Jiyu Chengyang touched his nose. "I'll let you have a few more pieces next time." I grew even angrier, though I was more angry at myself for not being persistent enough. We passed a small town, and Jiyu Chengyang said he'd take me for a walk. I hopped off the carriage at once, trotting happily beside him, all my anger gone in an instant. The town was bustling today. It was said the town magistrate's son was getting married, and they were holding a flowing feast. If you have money, you can send a gift and eat a meal. If you don't, you can still eat for free. I looked at Jiyu Chengyang. "Third Master, let's go eat the feast too. I've never been to someone else's wedding feast before." Jiyu Chengyang took me there, with Qingyu and Siwa in tow, and gave a landscape painting with his art name and seal on it. Jiyu Chengyang did not give his name or keep track of the favor. The servants had no idea who he was, and just seated us at a random table for 8. The 4 of us sat down, and 4 rough-looking men joined us. They had been talking loudly, looking ready to eat their fill, but they fell silent the moment they sat down, barely daring to touch their chopsticks. The 9 bowls on the table were filled with dishes I'd never seen before. Jiyu Chengyang said, "Weddings usually serve 9 big bowls like this." Jiyu Chengyang only took 1 bite of each dish, but Siyue, Qingyu, and I ate a lot. The food wasn't all that delicious, but it was a wedding feast. Somehow, that made it taste better. Through that filter of joy, as soon as we put down our chopsticks, the 4 men pounced on the food like a whirlwind, dropping all pretense of reserve. They ate so fast I was afraid they'd choke. "Let's head back," Jiyu Chengyang said. I stood up at once, following him, and whispered, "They're eating so fast, looking at their builds. They must be laborious. Even if they earn money, they can't bear to splurge on good food. A feast with so much meat and vegetables like this, they probably only get to eat it a few times a year. It's only natural they'd eat their fill." "Third Master, you know so much." Jiyu Chengyang turned slightly, shielding me from the cold wind blowing over. "When you've traveled more, seen more of the world, and broadened your horizons, you'll understand all the vicissitudes of life. Third Master, why didn't we give silver as a gift? Gold and silver have a price, but friendship and justice do not. If I gave 3 or 5 taels of silver, it would be shabby, 180 taels would look like a bribe. I gave a painting of my own. To others, it may be worth 1,000 pieces of gold, but to me, it is just a painting. It sounded so profound, but I knew Jiyu Chengyang was a man of noble character. Who would disdain to do such underhanded things as bribing? I wanted to be like him someday, open-minded in my words and deeds, unyielding, and kind-hearted. After the wedding feast, we stayed the night in the small town. Jiyu Chengyang said he wanted to visit a former classmate in a nearby county town. This classmate had been his close friend in their school days. After passing the imperial examinations and earning an official title, the emperor had sent him to be the magistrate of the county. I could hear the nostalgia for the past in his voice, and his care for this friend. Third master, you'll definitely get better. Jiyu Chengyang froze for a moment, then smiled and ruffled my hair. Our Yuan is the most special girl I've ever met. What's so special about me? There are plenty of girls like me. It's just that he gave me a sense of belonging, and made me a little better, little by little. Jiyu Chengyan's friend must have been an honest official. From the moment we stepped into the county town, I could feel the difference. The common people, the traveling peddlers, there was a light in their eyes, a sense of hope for the future. When we finally met him, he was wearing a half-old, half-new robe, exuding a strong scholarly aura. He stared at Jiyu Chengyang in shock for a moment, then shouted, "Mingyu brother." Jiyu Chengyan's courtesy name was Mingyu. He then looked at me, and smiled, asking, "Jiyu Chengyang, is this your younger sister-in-law?" "This is my wife, Yuan. This is Brother Han." I bowed at once. "Greetings, Brother Han." Magistrate Han smiled and clapped Jiyu Chengyang on the shoulder. "You lucky rascal, younger sister-in-law. Please come inside quickly." Magistrate Han smiled and invited us in, then told someone to fetch his wife. "I wrote you more than a dozen letters some time ago, and never got a reply. Now that you're willing to go out and see the world, I can finally rest easy. We men are meant to be full of passion and blood. How can we be defeated by a little setback? Travel around, and maybe an opportunity will come your way. There are many talented and extraordinary people in this world. And many skilled doctors too. The ones I sent to the capital some time ago were no good, and I've sent people to ask around in the nearby counties. It just so happens you're here. I'll send for them all to come." "Brother Han." Jiyu Chengyang grabbed Magistrate Han's hand. "Thank you." Between us, saying thank you is too formal. Madam Han was a very forthright and capable woman, with a loud, warm laugh. "Younger sister-in-law, stay a few more days. I'll take you around the town. And let these two catch up properly." I saw Jiyu Chengyang talk eloquently for the first time. He couldn't drink alcohol, so he used plain boiled water instead, clinking cups with Magistrate Han again and again. He hadn't drunk a drop of wine, yet I felt as if he were drunk. On the way back to the guest courtyard, he sat in his wheelchair, pushed by Qingyu. He suddenly grabbed my hand, and asked in a low voice, "Yuan, will you leave me?" "Of course not. Wherever Third Master is, that's where I am. Where else could I go if I leave him? The world is vast, and I am all alone, with no one to rely on. Where could I go?" He was not someone I settled for after making other choices. All else paled in comparison to him. He was the only one, the one I must have, the unshakable one in my life. "I trust you, Yuan. I have to trust you." I never expected Madam Han to arrange a single room for Jiyu Chengyang and me. I didn't know how to tell her that Jiyu Chengyang and I hadn't consummated our marriage, that I was still a child, and he was no beast. But Jiyu Chengyang said, "If we go tell sister-in-law now, it'll be like the thief crying stop the thief. It'll only arouse suspicion. You sleep on the bed tonight, and I'll sleep on the couch." "That won't do. Your health is poor, and you can't stand the cold. You sleep on the bed, and I'll sleep on the couch." The couch was hard and uncomfortable to sleep on, painful to turn over on, and cold no matter how long I lay there. I couldn't warm it up. "Third Master, can I come to the bed too, to sleep?" Jiyu Chengyang fell silent for a long time, then said in a low voice, "Come here." I grabbed my pillow at once, dragged my quilt over, and climbed onto the bed. Jiyu Chengyang was unable to move easily, so of course he couldn't sleep on the inside. I tidied up the bed by myself, burrowed under the quilt, and said to him happily, "Third Master, you go to bed early too." Years later, I couldn't help but laugh when I thought back to my carefree self back then. I'd always had a big heart, and being by Jiyu Chengyan's side, well cared for and doted on by him, I'd become even more free from worry, full, warm, happy and content. I fell asleep quickly and slept soundly, sometime in the middle of the night. I felt the warmth beside me and drifted into Jiyu Chengyan's quilt in my sleep. He pushed me back to my own, and I mumbled drowsily, "Third master, is it dawn yet? Go back to sleep," he said. At such a young age, I had no idea Jiyu Chengyang was lying awake, unable to sleep. When I woke up, he was no longer by my side, but I didn't give it a second thought. Telling Siwa to fetch water for me to wash up, Siwa whispered, "Young mistress, did you share the bed with third master last night?" She was grinning in a strange way, and I had no idea what she was laughing about. Madam Han said she'd take me shopping, so I put Siwa's odd behavior out of my mind. We went out, and Jiyu Chengyang stayed behind, but Qingyu came with us. Following Jiyu Chengyan's instructions, Madam Han must not spend money on me, and I must not give her anything too valuable. A small token was the limit. I could buy whatever I liked, but I had to spend my own silver. I knew Magistrate Han was an official. If Madam Han and I bought too many things for each other, someone might surely accuse us of bribery. It was truly not easy. Madam Han clearly knew this too, and she sighed as she picked out things. "Sister-in-law, this is for the best," I said. "We live an upright life, and Brother Han will rise higher and higher in his official career, thanks to my lucky words." For me, going out didn't have to mean buying things, just being able to go out and see the sights was already a great happiness. Every place had its own local customs, its own way of speaking, its own styles of dress, all of which I knew nothing about. Madam Han whispered to me, telling me what to watch out for, what the townsfolk tabooed. "We're just passing through, but we should respect their beliefs." I thought that in the future, when I went to a strange place, I'd ask a local about such things. I had no desire to pry into others' privacy, but knowing a little more, understanding a little more, would do no harm. Day after day, year after year, what I saw and heard would enrich my life experience. When the day came that I could no longer go out, these memories would be more than enough to keep me company. In the middle of the night, I was sleeping drowsily when I heard a suppressed, painful sound beside my pillow. I blinked, sat up, and said, "Third master, does something hurt?" Jiyu Chengyang gritted his teeth through the pain and said, "The poison's flaring up, my leg hurts terribly." I hurried out of bed to light the oil lamp, and called out, "Siwa, fetch Qingyu." I helped Jiyu Chengyang sit up, leaning him against the headboard, lifted the quilt, and prepared to roll up his trouser leg. He grabbed my hand. "Yuan, let Qingyu do this." "Third master, I can do it." He was a man, I a woman. The ancients said men and women should not touch each other, but he'd forgotten he was my husband, and I his wife. I rolled up his trouser leg. His leg, unused to walking, had wasted away. Nothing but skin and bones. I reached out and touched it, and we both hissed in unison. "It's freezing," I said. Jiyu Chengyang spoke again. "Though, tonight, keep your hand there." I was confused, but I did as he said, placing both my hands on his leg. At first, Jiyu Chengyang could bear it, but then his face contorted in pain, and sweat broke out on his forehead. "Third master, ever since the poison set in, I've not felt a hint of warmth in this leg," he said. At first, it ached with cold. Then the cold turned to a stabbing pain. "When your hands are on it, I can feel warmth." "Is that all?" I said. "That's easy." After Qingyu helped Jiyu Chengyang take his medicine, he looked much better, and he told Siwa and Qingyu to go back to their beds, and told me to sleep too. I muttered an acknowledgement, climbed into bed, moved my pillow to the other end, burrowed under the quilt, pulled Jiyu Chengyan's leg over, lifted his robe, and hugged it to my chest. Jiyu Chengyang let out a sharp exclamation. "Yuan, what are you doing? Warming your feet," I said. "Now hurry and sleep, I'm exhausted." Normally, I'd be fast asleep at this hour, but tonight I'd been up and about for ages because of his attack, and it had cut into my sleep. Holding those ice-cold feet was a little uncomfortable at first, but as they gradually warmed up, I soon drifted off into a deep sleep. Once or twice, Jiyu Chengyang tried to pull his feet away, waking me up, and I just hugged them tighter and went back to sleep. By dawn, Jiyu Chengyang was still asleep, a rare thing. He usually got up much earlier than me, but today he was lazing in bed too. Since there was nothing important to do early in the morning, I decided to sleep a little longer. When I woke up again, The sun was high in the sky, Jiyu Chengyang was playing chess by himself, and when he looked at me, he hesitated, as if he wanted to say something. Did you sleep well last night, third master? I asked. Yuan, what is it? I said. Don't lecture me, third master, I won't understand, and I won't listen anyway. Just tell me, did my holding your feet keep you warm? Did you sleep well? I did, he said. That's all that matters. Then, no more fuss, after all. He was my husband, wasn't everything I did for him only right? Jiyu Chengyang fell silent for a long time, then suddenly said, will you marry again someday? Marry again? Who to? I said. After living with someone as good as you, third master, who else could ever catch my eye? Who else could treat me as well as you do? No in-laws to serve, no sister-in-laws to deal with, no trivial household worries. Every day I just study, read, write, and be happy. No need to toil for a living. No need to worry about my next meal. Once you've lived a life like this, who would want to wait on in-laws and wrangle with sister-in-laws? I certainly wouldn't. I only want to stay by Jiyu Chengyan's side, and make him live for many more years. When he's gone, I'll find a quiet place to live alone. When I grow tired of it, when I miss him too much, I'll go to him. That would be nice too, third master. Don't say such things again. I said. I hate it. When I was being stubborn, even Jiyu Chengyang could do nothing about me, like making him soak his feet in hot water every night, and rub them for him, warming his feet for him when we slept. If I was going to hold them, I had to wash them clean first. I'd never stand for dirty, smelly feet. He tried to refuse, but his refusals were useless, and he couldn't bring himself to send me away, and I noticed his sleep had gotten much better at night. The dark circles under his eyes fading little by little, so he could say what he liked, and I'd do what I liked. He couldn't stop me, he benefited from it, and I lost nothing, still eating and sleeping well as ever. Qingyu even gave me a thumbs up behind his back. When the 12th lunar month arrived, the new year drew closer with each passing day, and it was time for us to head back home for the festivities. Jiyu Chengyang said he'd go buy New Year's goods, but I took the task upon myself. Qingyu had experience with such things, and told me in advance what to buy and how to pick the best ones, and I learned by his side. I stumbled at first, but soon got the hang of it. Small towns had nothing much to offer, but county towns and prefectural cities had plenty of fine things, especially the gold and silver jewelry at the Treasure Pavilion, beautiful and exquisite. Though the prices were far from cheap, Jiyu Chengyang picked out a lot for me, not caring if I could wear any of it now. Don't all girls like these things? He said. I did, of course, but I hadn't yet had my hairpinning ceremony, so I couldn't wear most of it anyway. It's fine to keep them for now, I said. When I have my ceremony, I can do my hair up properly and wear everything. We returned to the capital on the 17th day of the 12th lunar month, arriving back at the Jiyu mansion. Lady Gooseface lit up when she saw Jiyu Chengyang, his complexion clearly much better than before. It's good to have you back, she said. Jiyu Chengyang told me to hand over the New Year's goods to Lady Jiyu, to send some to each courtyard, and also to give out the rain-flower stone pendants I'd made. The family even invited the imperial physician to come and check Jiyu Chengyan's pulse. The imperial physician said, though the poison in Master Gu's body is still uncurable, his health is gradually improving. If this continues, it will be of great benefit to his lifespan. A good mood, a healthy appetite, and sound sleep, these are all excellent signs. I cannot promise 100 years of life, but an extra 2 or 3 years are surely within reach. I was over the moon with joy, and Lady Jiyu was just as happy. She waved a hand and gave me a box of silver ingots, saying, take these and play with them. The box held at least several hundred taels, maybe even 1,000, just for me to play with. She also gave me a box of jade beads of different sizes and the finest quality. You can use these to match your pendants when you make them, she said. I have some other odd jade pieces at my place too. I'll have them tidied up and sent to you. Thank you, Mother, I said. I never expected, though, to spot one of the rain-flower stones I'd given away lying in the grass in the garden. I remembered exactly who I'd given each stone to, and what design I'd made for each. This one was the one I'd given to the eldest madam, Jiyu Chengyan's elder sister-in-law. If she didn't like it, I'd not bother preparing anything for her next time. I restrung the pendant and hung it by the window. Jiyu Chengyang saw it, and his brows furrowed slightly. He clearly remembered who I'd given the stone to. and seeing it hanging here now, he knew I could not have asked for it back. Yuan. He said, are you angry? I shook my head. No, I never had any real connection to her. We're not close at all. It's only natural she doesn't care for it. There are so many people in the world, and I'm not gold or jade. Everyone can't possibly like me. As long as Third Master likes me, that's all that matters. Jiyu Chengyang said nothing more, but told Qingyu to go out for a while. When Qingyu came back, he brought with him a household register, one that belonged to me alone. My eyes nearly popped out of my head. With a household register of my own, I was a free person. I could go anywhere I liked. No one could lock me up anymore. As long as I had silver, I could buy manors, shops, farmland, anything I wanted. On the 20th day of the 12th lunar month, there was to be a palace feast. I never thought I'd get to go and see the world, to broaden my horizons. I also learned for the first time that Jiyu Chengyan's eldest sister was married to the current second prince, though the second prince was away on official business, with the second princess by his side. No one had ever told me any of this. The second prince had returned to the capital a few days earlier, and it was said he'd handled his mission brilliantly, with the second princess making a vital contribution. If you want to go, go with mother, Jiyu Chengyang said. If not, it's fine to stay home too. I looked at Jiyu Chengyang. Will you go? Third Master, I won't. If Third Master wasn't going, I wasn't going to the palace feast either. Jiyu Chengyang and I stayed home and ate a hot pot instead. He couldn't eat spicy food. But I loved it, eating until my eyes watered, my nose ran, and I was covered in sweat, utterly blissful. Why not just eat plain food if you can't stand the spice? Jiyu Chengyang said. One should always try new things, I said, and it's really delicious. When your health gets better, you should try it too. Jiyu Chengyang set down his chopsticks and looked out the window at the plum tree budding with flowers, his voice tinged with loneliness. In this world, only you think I can recover. That I can live a long life. I did not know why he was so pessimistic. I wanted to comfort him, yet had no words to say. Yuan, when spring comes next year, let us move out and live on our own. Alright, anywhere is fine as long as Third Master is with me. I never thought, though, that something would happen before we even ate the New Year's Eve dinner. It started with the eldest madam asking me to come over and talk, and we were alone in the room. Siyue was called away by a few maids to chat in another room. The eldest madam took out a golden hairpin and asked if I thought it was pretty. The hairpin was not pretty at all, at the very least. Not as pretty as the ones in my box, but to avoid offending her, I lied and said it was. Then she insisted on giving it to me. I refused, but she said, "Sister-in-law, take it. It is not something valuable." She pressed it firmly into my hand. I thought that even if it was not pretty, it was still a golden hairpin. I could exchange it for silver in the future and buy a lot of grain, so I accepted it. To show my respect, I said I would put it on at once, but she said my current hairstyle did not match the hairpin, and it would be better to wear it when I did my hair in a suitable style next time. I thought she was right, and tucked the hairpin into my sleeve. I never expected that as soon as I left her courtyard, a few old women hurried over to stop me. "Third young mistress, please wait, our madam's golden hairpin is missing." They restrained me, pulled the hairpin out of my sleeve, and feigned surprise, saying, "We never thought the third young mistress would be such a person. Our madam is the most magnanimous. If the third young mistress goes in and apologizes to her, this matter will be over. We will give you the hairpin since you like it." I froze for a moment, then understood they wanted to frame me. "You are talking nonsense. She gave this to me voluntarily. I did not steal it. Why should I apologize?" They tried to cover my mouth and drag me back into the courtyard. I struggled and raised my hand to scratch their faces. I did not steal anything. Why should I be bullied and framed? These days, Jiyu Chengyang had truly fostered a spirit in me. Or perhaps spoiled me into having a proud streak. In any case, they had thought to frame me for stealing a golden hairpin and drag me back to the courtyard to manipulate me. But they never expected me to make a scene and hurt someone with my own hands. Siwa stared for a moment, then stepped forward to help me. The two of us against 3 or 4, we were naturally no match, but I was their mistress, and they did not dare to hurt me seriously, especially when I shouted and screamed. They panicked too. "Third young mistress, third young mistress, this matter has blown up. When Lady Jiyu sent someone to fetch us, my clothes and hair were disheveled. What exactly happened?" She gave me the golden hairpin herself. I said I did not want it, but she insisted on giving it to me. As soon as I walked out of the courtyard gate, these old women stopped me and said I stole their madam's golden hairpin. They said I had to go back and explain myself. I did not steal anything. Why should I explain? It is just a shabby golden hairpin. I have plenty more. Lady Gu rubbed her forehead and looked at the eldest madam of the Gu family, who hastened to say, "Mother, it is all my fault. I really did give the golden hairpin to third sister-in-law." It was the wet nurse who did not know the truth and misunderstood third sister-in-law for stealing. I cut her off at once. "Watch your words. I did not steal anything. Do not force the word theft on me." I had never really liked her in the first place. Her throwing away the rain flower stone I gave her was one thing, and now framing me was another, making me like her even less. "Mother," she said, kneeling down in front of Lady Gu, looking wronged as if I had bullied her. "Mother, it is all my fault. I did not manage the people in my courtyard well. I beg you to punish me." Lady Gu frowned and looked at me, asking, "Yuan, what do you have to say? Punish the servants who made the mistake severely." What else? What could I say? Moreover, this was not the servants' fault at all. It was clearly instigated by their mistress. Does mother really think the servants are bold enough to do this on their own? It is not the eldest sister-in-law who deliberately framed me, trying to manipulate Yuan through this. Jiyu Chengyan's voice came from the door. I could feel the atmosphere in the hall change in an instant, and I suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of grievance. Throwing myself into Jiyu Chengyan's arms and crying endlessly, "Rest assured, I will not let anyone bully you for no reason. This matter will not end lightly." Jiyu Chengyan's voice was still soft and gentle, but the eldest madam let out a shrill exclamation. "Third brother, it is my fault. Please spare me for the sake of family." Jiyu Chengyang ignored her, took my hand and led me to sit aside, took out a handkerchief and handed it to me, signaling for me to wipe my tears. As I wiped my tears, I heard Jiyu Chengyang say, "Mother, what do you say, Chengyang?" Mother Yuan is young and naive, unable to see through these intrigues. "But can you not see why this happened today? It is nothing more than you giving Yuan a manna, a box of silver ingots, a box of jade beads. Someone is jealous, and thought to bully and manipulate Yuan to vent their anger." Lady Jiyu stood up, looked at Jiyu Chengyang, looked at the eldest madam kneeling on the ground, then slowly sat back down. "Chengyang." Jiyu Chengyang cut her off again. "Mother, she dares to calculate and bully Yuan without scruples only because I, Jiyu Chengyang, am a useless man on the verge of death, and Yuan has no natal family to rely on, no one to stand up for her. Do you think she would dare to calculate the second sister-in-law like this?" Lady Gu's face turned extremely grave in an instant, filled with heartache, regret, and guilt. "Then what do you want to do?" Jiyu Chengyang said. "Drag the maids and old women from her courtyard down for interrogation. The truth will always come to light. One person may clench their teeth and refuse to speak, but I do not believe 5 or 6 people can all hold out under torture." The eldest madam's face turned as white as a sheet, her whole body trembling, and she hastened to say, "No, no." She looked at Lady Jiyu pleadingly. "Mother, it is all my fault, all my fault. I beg you, I beg you." Lady Jiyu was still hesitating, but Jiyu Chengyang stood up, took my hand, and said, "Mother, when spring comes next year, Siua and I will move out of the mansion. We will not stay in the Jiyu mansion to be an eyesore, nor will we give others the chance to calculate and bully Yuan again. This is the only time I will tolerate it. But I must remind Mother, are such a vicious and scheming person truly worthy of being the matriarch of the Jiyu clan?" We walked out of the room, and cries could be heard from inside. Jiyu Chengyang sat back in his wheelchair with a blank expression. I thought the matter was over, until Jiyu Chengyan's eldest brother came over, and the two talked in low voices. Shouts and arguments erupted from the study. I was too far away to hear clearly. Then Jiyu Chengyang ordered Qingyu to tell the servants to pack our things, and told me to pack mine too. "Are we not staying home for the New Year? Tomorrow is New Year's Eve." Jiyu Chengyang ruffled my hair. "As long as Yuan is with me. Every place is home for the New Year. Then let us move." We still did not manage to move smoothly this time, though. Jiyu Chengyan's second brother came to persuade him. I eavesdropped again, and heard Jiyu Chengyang say his sister-in-law was vicious and selfish, and even tried to shift the blame to Yuan. bringing up the nonsense about Yuan being a jinx who would kill her husband and parents. I am ashamed to be associated with such a person who cannot tell right from wrong. But you cannot move out today. If you really leave, what will outsiders say? Third brother, you have always been calm and composed. Why have you lost your head when it comes to your wife? After a long silence, Jiyu Chengyang said, a wife honors her husband, and a husband honors his wife. I am poisoned and on the verge of death. I am nothing but a useless man, so they think it does not matter if they bully and manipulate Yuan. Even if I stand up for her, what can I do? I am no longer the glorious, promising third master Jiyu they once knew. They can get no benefit from me now, and even think I have fallen into the mire. She cries a few fake tears, says she is wrong, and then father and mother brush the matter under the rug. The wronged person does not even get a single apology. Are they bullying Yuan? They are bullying me, humiliating me. Third brother. The second brother's voice trembled a little. Second brother. Do not try to persuade me any longer. This is how father and mother are, how my brothers are. I accept it, but I will not resign myself to it. I can no longer walk. But my mind and hands are still intact. One day, even if I die, they will not dare, nor be able, to act like this and bully me, bully Yuan. If they want to manipulate Yuan, they will have to step over my dead body first. I originally thought to let this matter go, but all of you are pressing me to back down. It is not my fault, nor is it Yuan's fault. Why should we back down? If there is no justice for what happened today, then I, Jiyu Chengyang, will sever all ties with the Jiyu family. Second brother, I hope you will pass this on to them. Jiyu Chengyan's words made my heart ache terribly, and I cried my heart out alone in the room. That night, the lights in Jiyu Chengyan's courtyard burned bright all night. Jiyu Chengyang would not let me go out, let alone go to the front courtyard. Siua ran back and forth, reporting to me that Lady Jiyu had come, Master Jiyu had come, Lady Gu's elder brothers from her natal family had come, even Jiyu Chengyan's maternal grandfather had come, and the eldest madam's natal family had come too. I did not know what was said in the front courtyard. In any case, on New Year's Eve that night, we still ate the New Year's Eve dinner together, all of us silent, the food tasting like ash in our mouths. The eldest madam's cheeks were swollen and red. She had clearly been beaten, though I did not know by whom. Jiyu Chengyang, though, kept piling food onto my plate. I nodded slightly, not daring to make a sound. I felt this New Year's Eve dinner had given me a stomachache. After dinner, Jiyu Chengyang and I were about to return to our courtyard when Master Jiyu suddenly spoke. Third son's wife. Come here, father wants to see you. Jiyu Chengyang nodded slightly, and I stepped forward cautiously, my heart trembling, and asked, Father, what are your instructions? A few days ago, I held a family meeting and have thoroughly investigated the matter. It was your eldest sister-in-law who was in the wrong. I have told her to apologize to you. Let this matter be put to rest. What do you think? What do I think? Of course I do not agree. As Jiyu Chengyang said, was she bullying me? She was trying to bully Jiyu Chengyang indirectly. If I had let her manipulate me, would I have become timid and cautious? Would I still be able to laugh freely and stay by Jiyu Chengyan's side without a care? Certainly not. I would have been too scared for my own life to care about Jiyu Chengyang. She was trying to take Jiyu Chengyan's life, so I would not forgive her. No need for an apology. She doesn't truly know she's wrong anyway, so an apology would mean nothing. Besides, I have no real connection to her, and we won't interact much in the future. No need to trouble her with an apology. Father, third master, and I have agreed to move out in spring. We'll come back to visit often, and you and mother can also stay with us for a while whenever you like, to admire the flowers and plants I grow. Master Jiyu fell silent for a long moment after hearing this, then said, Very well, then move out, as long as you and the third son live well together. I was even more surprised when Master Jiyu said he would give Jiyu Chengyang the 5-courtyard mansion on South Street, but Jiyu Chengyang said, Give it to Yuan. I won't live for many more years. I don't want her to be bullied and driven out of the house with no one to turn to after I'm gone. Master Gu's face darkened at once, and Lady Jiyu hurriedly said, Then give it to Yuan. That mansion is large. We can demolish a few courtyards to plant flowers and grass. It'll be lovely. Later, when I asked Jiyu Chengyang why he'd suddenly become so insistent on this, he smiled and said, If I hadn't acted a little willfully, it would be you crying right now. I thought about it, and he was right. If Jiyu Chengyang hadn't stood up for me so forcefully, who knew how this matter would have been twisted, and I would have been the one suffering the grievance. Now I'd gained a big mansion, and would be the mistress of my own home from now on, growing flowers, raising rare medicinal herbs, and selling them to make a living. So having gained such benefits, I let go of the rest of the grudges. On the second day of the first lunar month, the second princess returned to her natal home. I didn't go anywhere, just stayed in the room with Jiyu Chengyang, discussing how many courtyards to demolish for planting flowers and grass. We'd buy cheap flowers and plants that were selling for a high price in the capital in recent years, raise them with care, and resell them for a profit. Jiyu Chengyang said he'd also write calligraphy and paint to sell, and even planned to write a few storybooks. He'd always considered himself too noble for money in the early days, thinking it all a vile thing. But now I have a family to support, he said. Then I'll write a storybook about a favored son of heaven who falls from grace, then climbs back to the peak of life step by step. I held Jiyu Chengyan's hand tightly and said, "Third master, I believe you'll stand up again one day and return to the top. Everyone in this world pities me, thinking I'll surely die young. Only you think I can live a long life and climb back to the peak. Someone as good as you, third master, definitely can." I had no idea the second princess was listening to our conversation outside the door. She left as quietly as she'd come. Jiyu Chengyang did glance outside, though. I only understood later that Jiyu Chengyang had fought not just for me, but for himself too. Once a favored son of heaven, everyone had fawned on him, no one had dared to slight him. But just because he'd fallen into the mire, his brother's contempt had spilled over to his wife, who'd thought to bully me the same way to feel a sense of accomplishment. It was truly hateful and disgusting. Before we moved out, Lady Jiyu called me over, and in front of Jiyu Chengyan's two sisters-in-law, gave me several boxes, glittering with gold and jewels. "I'm giving these things to you, Yuan," she said. "Do either of you have any objections? Mother may give her things to whomever she wishes," the second sister-in-law hastened to say. "And you, eldest daughter-in-law, do you think the same?" "I do, mother." Having gained several boxes of fine things, I thanked her with a big smile at once. We moved out of the Jiyu mansion on the 18th day of the first lunar month. The plaque on our new home still read Jiyu Mansion. To outsiders, the Jiyu family said we'd moved because Jiyu Chengyan's poison required a large mansion for growing medicinal herbs. Not a word was leaked about the frame-up against me, or Jiyu Chengyan's near falling out with the family over it. In our new home, after discussing with Jiyu Chengyang, we demolished several courtyards. We even sold some of the beams, pillars, and tiles for silver, and now I was in charge of all the money. Jiyu Chengyang said I was the mistress of the house now, and all big and small matters, all the money, should be in my hands. His calligraphy and paintings sold exceptionally well. The shopkeeper of the Shusha studio came every day, arriving with eager anticipation and leaving joyfully with his paintings and calligraphy scrolls. His storybooks were also progressing smoothly. The shopkeeper said the first print run would be at least 5,000 copies, and if he used Jiyu Chengyan's real name, it would be at least 10,000. The silver from Jiyu Chengyan's calligraphy and paintings was kept in a box. I didn't count how much there was, but it was a lot. For me, it was more than enough. We found many empty plots in the mansion, and people even came to sell us medicinal herbs. I didn't recognize the herbs, but Qingyu knew a little, though he didn't know the prices, so we hired a doctor from a local medicine hall. We only bought rare medicinal herbs. Any flowers or plants that the medicine shops wouldn't take. On the Dragon Head Raising Festival on the second day of the second lunar month, Jiyu Chengyang and I trimmed each other's hair ends. He praised my hair for being jet black, and I praised his for being thick. In the end, we looked at each other and smiled, then went out to a restaurant for a nice meal, and bought a pile of random little things on the way back. Now I was busy every day. Besides studying and practicing calligraphy, I had to grow flowers and plants, and learn how to massage and do acupuncture. Every night, I made sure Jiyu Chengyang soaked his feet, then massaged his legs. Gradually, my hands grew stronger. My pot of Camellia japonica 18 scholars also bloomed exquisite beyond description. Jiyu Chengyan's younger brother came to see it and praised it to the skies, even asking to borrow it to show off. I agreed at once, but Jiyu Chengyang didn't. After all, it was placed in his study now. So his word was final. Then can I bring people over to third brother's place to see it? Jiyu Chengyang agreed reluctantly. As a result, he brought more than a dozen people over, who commented on the Camellia japonica 18 scholars endlessly and even painted it. 2 days later, the whole capital knew our family had a pot of Camellia japonica 18 scholars with 70 or 80 blooms. All the flower lovers in the capital came to see it, so we simply moved it to the main hall. I never dreamed Jiyu Chengyang would sit at the gate collecting money, 10 taels of silver per person. When he handed me the silver that night, I was stunned. More than 1,000 taels, meaning more than 100 people had paid to see my camellia that day. Is it really okay to take their money? I asked. They came all this way, shouldn't we treat them to good tea and pastries? We even prepared brush, ink, paper, and inkstone for those who wanted to paint. Don't the pigments cost money? The maids and servants waited on them, pouring tea and water, and we even had to feed those who painted slowly. We made a profit, but not much. Looking at how I am now, they still want to get something for nothing from me. Jiyu Chengyang hadn't been like this before, at least not at the start of our marriage. Jiyu Chengyang looked at me, then said, "This camellia won't last long." I didn't quite understand what he meant. As it turned out, the next day, people from the palace came and said the emperor wanted to see the flower. Then Jiyu Chengyang waved his hand and let the palace servants take the camellia away. Just like that, if the emperor thought it was beautiful, there would be a reward, if not, would get nothing. I never expected the emperor to reward me with several pots of camellias that hadn't bloomed in years, saying there would be a heavy reward if I could get them all to bloom. What if I let them die? The emperor gave them to you, they're yours now, Jiyu Chengyang said. If you get them to bloom, you'll be famous all over the world. From now on, 8 or 9 out of 10 families with flower trees that won't bloom will come to ask for your help. If you let them die, the world will say you're a fraud, and opinions of you will be mixed. Just do your best. I thought the camellias would be fine. They hadn't died even in their flower pots, and the pots were large with good soil. So I simply changed their soil, added some washed and ground eggshell powder to it, found some animal bones, burned them in an iron pot, crushed them and sprinkled some in the soil. I watered them occasionally, and left the rest to fate. I had my hair-pinning ceremony on the 12th day of the 3rd lunar month. I was 15 years old. Jiyu Chengyang asked if I wanted to hold a banquet. No need, I said, just you and me eating a bowl of longevity noodles together is enough. I don't want to invite the Wang family, and there's no need for the Jiyu family to go to great lengths for my ceremony. Having third master by my side is the best gift for my coming of age. I thought besides my wet nurse and my brother, now there was Jiyu Chengyang. No one else in the world would remember my coming of age day, just like the Jiyu family, who'd asked after Jiyu Chengyang a few times at first, then gradually lost interest. Jiyu Chengyang was still the third young master of the Jiyu family, the beloved son of master and lady Jiyu, and even he could be gradually forgotten, let alone a daughter-in-law who'd married in with no one to rely on. Just as I'd expected, my brother arrived in the capital with my wet nurse, sister-in-law, and nephew on the 6th day of the 3rd lunar month, and it took them some effort to find our home. My lady, my wet nurse cried, hugging me tightly. She then looked me up and down carefully, and said with satisfaction, "You've grown taller. And your complexion is much better, wet nurse. Let's sit down and talk." My wet nurse looked around a little nervously, and I whispered to her, "I'm the mistress here, you can act however you like." "Really?" I nodded vigorously. My wet nurse smiled and sat down, took my hand and said, "She told me about their decision to move the whole family to the capital after I left. We won't live in that other mansion. Just assign a small courtyard to us in your residence. You'll need someone to handle things outside the house, let your brother do it. If there's anything you need me and your sister-in-law to do at home, just ask. As for that boy, we'll have to trouble the master." "Wet nurse, we're family," I said. "No need for such polite words." My wet nurse smiled even more happily at that. "You've changed since getting married, young lady, better than before. It's wonderful." I also thought it was wonderful to have my wet nurse, brother, sister-in-law, and nephew here. The medicinal herb garden and flower nursery were now taking shape. Most of the medicinal herbs were rare species, some of which could only survive in the deep mountains and forests. Yet somehow, when I planted them casually under trees or in corners, they all grew well. I didn't even bother to distinguish the rare, unknown medicinal herbs and flowers. Just planted them anywhere. My wet nurse praised them endlessly when she saw them. I only watered them occasionally, too. In the medicinal herb garden and flower nursery, we only pulled out the plants we were sure were weeds. Otherwise, we let everything grow freely. We were afraid that one of them might be the antidote Jiu Chengyang needed for his poison. Perhaps it was because I could keep rare medicinal herbs alive that even doctors began bringing me herbs to grow for them. I simply potted them, watered them to settle their roots, placed them under the eaves and checked on them daily. Once I was certain they had taken root, I would have them taken back, charging a mere 2 taels of silver for my trouble. I would never go to their homes, for medicinal herbs brought to me to nurture. If they were uneasy, they could leave a servant to watch over them, and some indeed were uneasy, sending boys to stand guard. Most of these were life-saving herbs, so their wariness was only reasonable. Others brought me seeds to plant, offering generous rewards if I could get them to grow. I did not know if others could manage it, but my seeds would sprout in 3 to 5 days, then thrive. When they were ready, I would transplant them into pots, and once they grew a little more, their owners could take them away. My wet nurse busied herself by my side every day. Then came my hair-pinning ceremony. Truly, no one remembered it except Jiu Chengyang, my wet nurse, and my brother. My wet nurse did my hair. Jiu Chengyang placed the hairpin for me. My sister-in-law cooked me longevity noodles. My brother gave me a jade pendant carved with a god of longevity, and my nephew babbled congratulations for my long life and health. Having all the people I loved by my side was more than enough. My sister-in-law and wet nurse prepared lunch, and I joined them in the afternoon, kneading dough, making steamed buns and dumplings, stir-frying a few dishes, and simmering a pot of soup. We sat together, eating and laughing. Jiu Chengyang ate a little more than usual that meal, and I worried his stomach would ache. That night, as we lay in bed, he even asked, "Yuan, will you cook again tomorrow? What would Third Master like to eat?" The steamed buns and dumplings today were good. If Third Master likes them, I will make them again tomorrow. I grew even busier, for I had to learn to cook too. Stewing soup was the easiest. Simply clean the ingredients, drop them into a clay pot, and simmer on low heat. While the soup stewed, Siua would tend the fire, and I would recite my books by her side, managing to do both at once. By now, the word had spread that the third young mistress of the Jiu family had a green thumb for flowers and herbs. Doctors from other places often came, their bamboo baskets filled with medicinal roots I had never seen before. I would even grow these for free, asking only that they feel Jiu Chengyan's pulse and examine him. If many of the herbs I grew survived, they would leave one plant for me as payment. If they were unwilling, I would not force them, though almost all were happy to oblige. Some doctors could even explain the ins and outs of Jiu Chengyan's poison and offer remedies, and they were willing to try. Though all attempts failed, they were not entirely fruitless. Jiu Chengyang said the pain was not as severe anymore, at the very least. The first half hour of walking no longer left him gasping in agony. That alone was a blessing. By the 8th lunar month, every spot in the mansion that could be planted was filled with greenery. So we decided to buy a manor outside the city to grow medicinal herbs. We had earned a fair amount of silver in those days, enough to buy a manor and build tall walls around it. Once the manor was bought and renovated, with living quarters and high walls erected, a messenger came from the Jiu mansion, inviting us back for the Mid-Autumn Festival. We had not returned since moving out half a year ago, and no one had sent for us before. We decided to go back, arriving on the 13th day of the 8th lunar month. The moment the Jiu family saw me, they all stared in stunned silence. I knew I had changed. I had grown taller, and my features had matured. My wet nurse said I was the prettiest young lady she had ever seen. Jiu Chengyang had never praised my looks, nor had he ever stared at me in a daze. The Jiu family's reaction was simply an overreaction. The eldest madam still managed the household, and she was the same as ever, two-faced and unrepentant. Fortunately, we only stayed for 2 or 3 days, leaving on the 16th day to go straight to our new manor. Someone had said they would introduce a doctor to us, praising him as a miracle worker, the finest physician of the age. He would arrive in the capital around the 20th day of the 8th lunar month, and we were told to go directly to the manor to meet him. Whether the praise was true or not, Jiyu Chengyang and I met it with calm hearts. No great hopes meant no great disappointments, so we did not mention it to the Jiyu family. The 2 small courtyards prepared for us were clean, but with most of our things moved out, the rooms felt empty and bare, especially Jiyu Chengyan's study. Jiyu Chengyang looked around, twitching the corner of his mouth into a sardonic smile. He spent his days with me in the back courtyard, accompanying me as I studied, or reading to me while I did needlework. My needlework was poor, I could only sew cloth together, but I had recently taken a fancy to making a sachet for him, thinking I could fill it with sweet osman thus, or if not that, with medicinal herbs. He read me a travelogue, written in a witty and humorous style. I grew so absorbed in it at times that I would stop my needlework to listen intently, and in the end, I would simply set aside my sewing, walk over to him, and lie down with my head on his lap. As he read, one hand would remove the hairpins and ornaments from my hair, loosening my bun, his fingers tangling in my long tresses. It was just the 2 of us in the room, and we were used to each other's company, with no need for servants to wait on us. They could go back to their quarters to rest, or pick sweet osman thus in the Jiyu mansion's garden. We let them do as they pleased. Jiyu Chengyang held a teacup in one hand, the other twining in my hair, and I half lay in his arms, reading the travelogue to him. The book was truly well written, but many of the characters were obscure, and I still did not know them all. Jiyu Chengyang would skip over the difficult parts when he read, but when I read, I would calmly turn the book's tender, lingering passages into something as plain as water. Jiyu Chengyang would laugh at this, and I would playfully bicker with him. It was at this moment that the second sister-in-law walked in, and she stood frozen in the doorway, staring in utter disbelief. She had never imagined Jiyu Chengyang would be so playful with me. My clothes were neat, but my hair was loose and unbound. I really picked the wrong time, she stammered. Second sister-in-law, don't go, wait for me a moment. I jumped up at once, barefoot, and pulled her back. Jiyu Chengyan's expression remained calm as he stood up, bent down to pick up my shoes from the floor, walked over to me, and knelt to slip them on my feet. I was used to him doing such things for me, but for some reason, my cheeks flushed red at that moment. Jiyu Chengyang bowed to the second sister-in-law. Greetings, second sister-in-law. I will leave you and Yuan to talk. I will go to the front courtyard first. Go on, third brother. As soon as Jiyu Chengyang left, the second sister-in-law spoke, her voice soft. I never knew you and third brother were so affectionate. Third master is the best husband in the world, I said. My wet nurse had told me so. She said third master was the finest man alive, and he was surely the best husband for me. The second sister-in-law smiled, and chatted aimlessly with me. And I wondered what she really wanted to say. I was not the sharpest, but in those days, I had listened to Jiyu Chengyang read many books, and he had explained the hidden meanings behind the words and deeds of the characters in them. I thought the second sister-in-law was not here just to make small talk. If she would not say what was on her mind, then I would speak my own. Why did they all bully third master? He was also master and Lady Gu's beloved son. Even if he could no longer bring glory to the family, he had never shamed it. Second sister-in-law, if you have something to say, please say it plainly, I said. The study in the front courtyard is empty. Third master has nowhere to go. I must go fetch him back soon. The second sister-in-law stared at me, aghast. You say third brother's courtyard is empty. The other rooms still had their furnishings, but third master's study was bare. We had moved some of our things out when we left, but not all of them. Yet now it was empty, just like my room, bare and desolate everywhere. Where have all the things gone? I did not take them all when I left. Third sister-in-law, I will go with you to see for myself. Then let us go. When my second sister-in-law and I arrived, Jiyu Chengyang had pulled out a rocking chair and was sitting under the eaves, his eyes closed, rocking gently. He opened his eyes at the sound of our footsteps and looked over, and with a single glance, he knew why the second sister-in-law had come. He sighed helplessly at me. Second sister-in-law, there is no need to look. Please return. It is nothing important. Third brother, we will only stay for 2 days, then leave. We may not come back for the new year next time. I thought Jiyu Chengyang did not mean may not. He would definitely not come back. He would surely take me to another prefectural city, then find all manner of excuses not to return. If that is the case, then I will take my leave first, the second sister-in-law said. She looked at me. Third sister-in-law, I will come to talk to you another day. Very well, second sister-in-law. After she left, Jiyu Chengyang pinched my nose gently. You did not need to tell second sister-in-law about this. I just feel sorry for third master, I said. Why do they treat you like this? When you could bring glory to the Jiyu family, everyone fawned on you. Now you are only temporarily down on your luck. And they humiliate you like this. I had never seen him so angry or wronged, not even when the Wang family had treated him so harshly. It is different, he said. How is it different? I thought long and hard, then said, they never enjoyed the glory I brought them, never benefited from my efforts, never got anything from me at all. They do not love me, and I do not love them. If they treat me badly, I never beg for their love. I looked up at Jiyu Chengyang, my voice soft. Third master. You and I are not the same. Jiyu Chengyang was silent for a long time, then sighed. From the day you came to my side, I stopped caring. So he had cared once, cared about the change in his parents and brothers, from the initial heartache to numbness, and finally to giving up. No wonder he had agreed to marry me after our talk. He had been saving me, and saving himself too. I threw my arms around his waist and choked out, Third master, I will always be by your side. Do not cry, he said. I am not crying. Our Yuan does not cry. Jiyu Chengyang patted my shoulder gently to soothe me. I sniffled, rubbed my tears on his robe, and forced them back. Third master, let us go back to reading. We will not think about the unhappy things. Those people are blind. One day, our third master will be famous all over the world again, and return in glory to prove them wrong. What lofty aspirations. Yuan, how did Lady Jiyu handle such matters? She gave me gold, silver, jewelry, shops, land deeds all in front of the entire Jiyu family. As for why she gave them to me, I think you know full well, eldest daughter-in-law, and eldest brother. Do not feel wronged that as the eldest son, you cannot inherit most of your mother's dowry. Why has third brother become like this? He was injured and poisoned in that case to save you. As a mother, I admit I cannot hold the scales perfectly even, but I have never favored one side outright. Yet look at what you have done these past few years. What has the wife you dote on done? Has your conscience been eaten by dogs? Jiyu Chengyan's eldest brother dropped to his knees with a thud, slapping his own face repeatedly. Mother, it is all my fault. I am unfilial. I suddenly found it all rather meaningless. They knew they were wrong, yet they would not change. Lady Jiyu always flew into a rage and made amends to Jiyu Chengyang after the fact. But he was no child. He could never forgive her just because his parents coaxed him. He was an adult. Intelligent and perceptive. If I could not see what Lady Jiyu was up to, he most certainly could. And Master Jiyu had not said a single word this entire time. They wanted to dote on their third son, yet could not bear to truly discipline the eldest son who would one day head the family, nor his foolish wife. They wanted it all. So Jiyu Chengyang took my hand and left without a word. Let them fight and curse there all they want. He did not care to intervene, nor to ask. Should we take the things mother gave us? Yes, why not? With them, we can live freely outside. No need to pinch pennies, such ease. If we do not take them, someone else will benefit from them for nothing. I nodded vigorously. That was exactly what I thought. Early on the 16th day of the 8th lunar month, we packed our things and went to bid our parents farewell as a matter of courtesy. Lady Gu's eyes were red and swollen, and Master Jiyu looked haggard. They had clearly not slept well. Take good care of yourselves outside. If you lack silver, send a message back. Chengyang, it is mother's fault for being negligent. Lady Jiyu took Jiyu Chengyan's hand, tears about to fall. Mother, father, live well. And Yuan and I can be at peace outside. Then for my birthday, just have Yuan cook me a bowl of longevity noodles. Her cooking has really improved these days. I had no real cooking skills at all. I could not even shape steamed buns and mantou properly. My dumplings were lopsided, and my stir-fries were always out of season. Every time I cooked, several servants had to help with the hard work, taking care of all the important steps, but I played along with Jiyu Chengyan's words anyway. Rest assured, mother, I will take good care of my husband. I knew Jiyu Chengyan's birthday was at the end of the 8th lunar month, and I was more than happy to celebrate it for him. I had worried he would be unhappy after returning from the Jiyu mansion, but instead he composed poems, painted, wrote calligraphy and storybooks. Nothing was left undone. When he was in a good mood, He even hummed little tunes. I had worried for nothing. The so-called miracle doctor was around 40 or 50 years old, not young, but not particularly old either. He arrived 2 days early, bringing with him some medicinal roots with a few wilted leaves still attached. I had never seen anything like them before. I took them to plant at once. The miracle doctor said he wanted to watch me plant them. What was the harm in that? Planting medicinal herbs was easy for me. Take a flower pot, add some soil, place the root in it. Cover it with a layer of soil, water it, and set it under a tree. Done. I nodded firmly. It should recover in 2 or 3 days. He pressed his lips together and felt Jiyu Chengyan's pulse, switching from his left hand to his right, then back again. Saying nothing of whether he could cure him, he suddenly asked, "Would Madame Jiyu be willing to come with me to Yunnan to grow medicinal herbs for me?" I shook my head. "Wherever my husband goes, I go. What if I can cure your husband's poison?" Jiyu Chengyang and I looked at each other at the same time, joy and doubt in our eyes. I did not quite believe his words. "Is it not enough that I help you grow those few medicinal herbs?" Far from enough. My wife accompanied me into the mountains to gather herbs and was poisoned by a strange toxin. The herbs I brought are both poison and antidote. When they bloom, collect the pollen to use as a medicine guide, and it will cure my wife of her deadly poison. But the flowers bloom very small, each yields only a tiny bit of pollen. Moreover, they are extremely hard to find, even harder to grow. I heard that Madame Jiyu of the capital has a gift for growing flowers and herbs, so I sent someone to inquire. I did not quite believe it, so I decided to come in person. "Madame Jiyu, your husband needs an antidote, and so does mine. Truth be told, my mastery of poisons is not even a tenth of my wife's. If you are willing to come with me to Yunnan, I will cure your husband's poison within a year." Could I be tempted? Of course I could, but I did not quite trust him. Yet Jiyu Chengyang said, "We will go with you." Just like that, no more thinking. "Foolish girl, we are going." Jiyu Chengyang spoke again, and I had no reason to object. "Then we go." I even asked the miracle doctor to go look around the garden, to see which medicinal herbs could be used to cure Jiyu Chengyang, and which for his wife. After looking around, he said solemnly, "The herbs needed to cure Third Master Jiyu are already all here in this garden." Jiyu Chengyang and I squeezed each other's hands tightly, our hearts filled with excitement and joy. "I can prepare the first dose of the antidote for Third Master Jiyu at once. I will give you the prescription then. Are you still willing to come with me?" Of course we are. Both Third Master and I believe a man's word is his bond. We made a promise, and we will keep it. Again, take whatever herbs you need, dig them up. We will bring them with us. No more fuss. The sooner we leave, the sooner we reach Yunnan, the sooner I can grow the herbs to cure your wife. The fact that Jiyu Chengyan's poison could be cured was already the greatest blessing for us. Now that we were certain of it, what did a few days matter? I have many medicinal herbs in my valley, but none so rare as the ones in this garden. I will be bold and dig some to take back. In return, you may dig whatever you like from my garden when the time comes. Hurry and dig the herbs, miracle doctor. Process the ones that need processing, toss the rest into the bamboo baskets, and we can leave. Jiyu Chengyang did not send word to the Jiyu mansion about the cure for his poison. We did not want to raise their hopes only to dash them if it failed. So I instructed my wet nurse, Nanny Zhao, not to breathe a word of this to anyone. "We will tell them when we come back cured." Nanny Zhao wanted my brother to come with us, but I refused. The family needed a reliable man to handle trivial matters, and besides, our party was already large enough. In addition to Qingyu, there were more than a dozen of Jiyu Chengyan's trusted men, all skilled in martial arts. I only took one maid, Siyue. I had hands and feet of my own. I could do many things by myself. If push came to shove, we could buy more maids later. This trip would take at least 6 months to a year, possibly 3 to 5 years. We would not tell the Jiyu family about the antidote, but we had to explain why we were leaving. I told Qingyu to go back and inform Master and Lady Jiyu. That was enough. They had long since given up hope for Jiyu Chengyang anyway. As for the Wang family, after much thought, I knew I should go see second aunt. She was the only one in the Wang family who had ever shown me a shred of warmth, but I did not go to her house directly. I asked her to meet me at a tea house. When second aunt saw me, she smiled warmly. "It eases my heart to see you living well." We chatted for a while, and second aunt spoke of the Wang family. Wang Yusin has married the third prince as a concubine, the third prince, so that so-called high marriage was just becoming a concubine. That was quite a surprise. Your father has been demoted. The Wang family has not been doing well lately. Do you want to go back and see them? Second aunt, I will not go back. Besides, I am leaving town. I will be gone for at least a year and a half, possibly 3 to 5 years. They did not ask me if I wanted to be their daughter when they gave birth to me. They locked me away in a countryside manor for 10 years and ignored me, never treating me with true affection. I obeyed and married, repaying them for the gift of life and the barest of upbringings. I have no more ties to the Wang family. I inherited their heartlessness and cruelty, so do not try to persuade me. Second aunt, I asked to meet you today to say goodbye. May you live in peace and prosperity for all the years to come. Second aunt, free from all worries. Second aunt's eyes reddened slightly. May you too, Yuan, be smooth sailing and may all your wishes come true. What I wished for most was for Jiyu Chengyang to be healthy and live a long life, so her words touched my heart deeply. Thank you, second aunt, and with that, I left. It was a bright, sunny day with a gentle breeze. I asked Jiyu Chengyang, when we come back, it will be a new life. How does that make you feel? Heaven has been kind to me. He squeezed my hand tightly. I finally understand why grandfather betrothed me to the Wang family back then, and said not to judge whichever daughter it was too quickly. When the time is right, the one who comes to you is your fate. I did not understand back then, but now I do. The hurdle I could not cross was my own despair. My fate is you, Yuan, sweet nothings, but I like them. I did not know what our departure meant for the Jiyu and Wang families, but for us, it was hope, a new beginning, though we still feared the cruelty of men. Jiyu Chengyang and I agreed to buy a lot of inexpensive but high-demand goods on the way to Yunnan, and hire a freight escort agency to protect us. Ostensibly, we were escorting the goods to sell for profit. In truth, we were the ones being escorted. We hired 2 escort agencies. Privately, I went to see their leaders and told them that if something happened, or if Third Master was in danger, they must protect me and get me away safely. What I did not know was that Jiyu Chengyang had also gone to see them privately, telling them to protect me at all costs if disaster struck, and giving them an extra sum of silver on the side. They say competitors are enemies. But the escorts from these 2 agencies got along famously, no fights, not even a single argument. The miracle doctor trundled along with us for a day, then could take no more. Please go on ahead at your leisure, old man. I must go first. I knew he must be worried about his wife. Off you go, miracle doctor. Once he was gone, we could abandon the route he had planned, detour to other towns, sell the goods we had, and buy others in their place, and surprisingly, we actually made a profit from it. Jiyu Chengyang and I agreed to split half of the silver we earned among the escorts, to thank them for accompanying us on the detour. Thank you, Third Master Jiyu. We will have a wonderful new year when we get back from this trip. I'm going to buy my mother a new cotton-padded jacket and 2 pairs of cotton shoes. What about the rest? Someone asked with a laugh. I'm going to save it to marry a wife. The escorts roared with laughter, and Jiyu Chengyang and I laughed too. Such is the world. Women wish to marry a good husband, men to wed a virtuous wife. Everyone yearns for a home and toils for it. We must keep a lower profile while traveling. Besides these 2 escort agencies, Jiyu Chengyang told Qingyu to hire a local one as well. They knew every mountain stronghold where bandits lurked, every safe path through, and it was even possible they colluded with the bandits. But for us, spending money to avert disaster and reaching Yunnan safely was all that mattered. Especially with Jiyu Chengyang's limited mobility, we each sewed banknotes into our clothes and made an agreement on how to find each other if we were separated. In case of an accident, he told me to prioritize saving my life above all else. I knew what that meant, to choose life over chastity if forced to, and I would have done so without him saying a word. Though we spent some silver bribing the mountain bandits, we reached Yunnan without incident. Yunnan was rife with miasma. Miracle Dr. Liao had sent men to wait for us at the city gate. After we sold all our goods, Qingyu investigated the doctor's identity, character, and reputation, confirming he was indeed who he claimed to be. With a good standing, local commoners, merchants, and wealthy families all sought his treatment. Once the goods were sold, the escorts prepared to return to the capital. I bought some local specialties of Yunnan for them to take back, a portion for the Jiu family, a portion for my wet nurse at home, and a small gift for second aunt. They had also accepted a new escort job on their way back, making this trip well worth their while. Miracle Dr. Liao was 43 years old, and his wife was in her early 30s, exquisitely beautiful, gentle, and modest. Yet this same woman kept entire rooms filled with all manner of venomous snakes and scorpions. Raised alone, our residence was far from theirs. And the number of medicinal herbs I needed to grow multiplied from one variety to dozens. Jiu Chengyang also began his detoxification treatment, a process of excruciating pain that contorted his face, soaked his clothes in sweat, and sent black, foul-smelling blood oozing from the wounds on his legs. He downed bowl after bowl of acrid, bitter medicine, his hands clutching the armrests of his chair so tightly he shattered them several times, after each detox session. He always wanted me to cook for him, whether it was kanji, noodle soup, or tonic soup, and he would lazily ask me to feed him, to hum little tunes to lull him to sleep. He would occasionally jolt awake in the night to check if I was still by his side, but he was getting better. His legs were no longer perpetually ice-cold, the chills searing to the bone. When winter came, he could walk around the room for the length of an incense stick. Dr. Liao said he would be fully recovered by April or May the next year, his rapid healing owing much to the recent care and conditioning, in both body and spirit. Jiu Chengyang was thriving, his storybook was already half finished, every word polished to perfection, each phrase chosen with the utmost care. He brought the characters to vivid life, their love, hate, grief, and joy striking a chord in the heart, a fickle, pragmatic master and mistress, an ungrateful senior brother, malicious fellow disciples, and all manner of demons and spirits on the path of cultivation who killed to seize treasures, all while only his wife stayed by his side, protecting him every step of the way. Cultivation in the book could extend one's lifespan, even lead to immortality. The first volume told of ascending the path of immortality, the second of falling from grace, then rising from the mire to reclaim the peak. I knew he had mirrored his own parents, brothers, relatives, and friends in the story, and the only lingering beauty in his heart was my unwavering loyalty, my constant belief that he would recover. It was also because of my skill in growing medicinal herbs that we had attracted the Liaos. For all his outward grace and magnanimity, he was a vengeful man, with a mind full of tricks. But no gold is pure, no man perfect, and I was no different. Vengeful, calculating, cold, and unfeeling. Truly, it was said that only those cut from the same cloth could share a home. Our first New Year in Yunnan, we followed local customs, smoking large quantities of meat, learning to make sausage, and eating piping hot, spicy hot pot. Jiu Chengyang could not eat such things for the time being, but I fell in love with hot pot at first bite, so we always cooked 2 pots. I ate from my spicy pot and sipped from his mild one. He would occasionally take a bite of my spicy hot pot, then flush red and splutter that it was surprisingly tasty. I thought that once his poison was cured and he was fully well, he would surely develop a fondness for spicy hot pot. Unable to get enough of it, another year came, and I was almost 16, yet still had not had my first menstrual period. It was Mrs. Liao who felt my pulse, saying I was in perfect health and that such things should be left to fate, and I agreed. So when my period finally came, Jiu Chengyang held me as if the sky were falling, screaming for a doctor, for someone to fetch a doctor at once. Dazed and confused, I could not understand why he was in such a panic, only feeling a dampness between my legs and blood on his hands. "Third master, are you hurt?" "It's you." I froze for a moment before realization dawned. It was my first period. It was utterly embarrassing, but Jiu Chengyang let out a huge sigh of relief. His face dark as he went to wash his hands, then returned to the room with the same stern expression. When I cleaned up and emerged, he asked gently, "Does your stomach hurt? Tomorrow I'll ask Dr. Liao what you need to be careful of. Just avoid cold, raw, and greasy food, and rest well." I did not have unbearable abdominal pain, only a dull, heavy ache, and I knew I would get through it in a few days. Jiu Chengyang held me in his arms, his voice low. I was terrified just now. I touched blood in my hands for no reason, and I was so scared something was wrong with you. "It's not your fault, you had no way of preparing for this. It's your first time too, And you're still young, after all. I was not that young anymore, I was 16, and some girls were already mothers by this age. Jiyu Chengyang and I had not yet consummated our marriage, and he still thought I was too young, and I would let him think that. His body was not yet fully recovered. And it would be no loss to wait another 6 months or a year to become truly husband and wife. We both held the thought of doing what was best for each other, each with our own plans. My wet nurse had raised me exceptionally well in my early years. Though I had endured a few months of hardship after returning to the Wang family, it had passed in the blink of an eye, and life with Jiyu Chengyang had been nothing but freedom and joy. My health was excellent, so after my period ended, I was back to my lively self, growing the rare medicinal herbs Mrs. Liao had collected from all over for her. She did not look at all like a poisoned woman, happy every day, and even asked if I wanted to study medicine with her, to learn how to make poisons. I shook my head, knowing some medicinal herbs and their properties was enough. I was already busy enough every day, with no time to spare for anything else. By June, Jiyu Chengyan's poison was completely cured. Dr. Liao said a few more months of tonic soups and rest would make him as healthy as ever. I cried tears of pure joy. Jiyu Chengyang gently wiped the tears from my face and asked if I wanted to return to the capital. I did not much want to. Life in Yunnan was too happy. Back in the capital, there were too many rules and restrictions. Then we will stay in Yunnan until spring next year, he said, first, to nurture my body, and second, to finish the second volume of the storybook. When the time comes, I will return to visit those reclusive scholars and great Confucians. After falling from the peak of officialdom, I have realized there is more to life than being an official. Jiyu Chengyan's storybook spread far and wide in no time, and when word got out that he was the author, it took the entire country by storm in just 10 days. With countless people waiting eagerly for the second volume, the shopkeeper sent a man to Yunnan, saying the letters he had received were piling up in several rooms, asking Jiyu Chengyang when the second volume would be released and, most importantly, when the silver would be divided. The book was an unprecedented hit. Every scholar had a copy. To not have read it was to be unworthy of their company. Many failed imperial examination candidates even followed the protagonist's example, resolving to study diligently for another 3 years and take the exam again. Everyone was talking about Jiyu Chengyang, everyone praising him, and naturally, some said he had married a wonderful wife, that this was what it meant for a wife to share in her husband's glory. Dr. Liao came every day to ask when the second volume would be out. He was, after me and Qingyu, the first to know the follow-up plot, and his pride was palpable. Somehow, our whereabouts were leaked, and people began arriving in Yunnan with generous gifts and invitation cards to call on Jiyu Chengyang, but he refused them all. No matter who came, he would not see them, and would not accept any gifts. His poison was cured, and he had slowly begun practicing swordsmanship again. He had been skilled in martial arts and horse riding once, but had abandoned them after being poisoned. Now, picking them up again was difficult at first, but he gritted his teeth and persisted. Gradually regaining his former proficiency, his elegant bearing, his jade-like grace, was utterly captivating. More and more people sent invitation cards, and carriages carrying noble ladies lined up outside our courtyard, the air thick with the scent of perfume. Siwa was furious about it. Young mistress, don't you care? They're all staring at our third master. Aren't you angry? Why would I be angry? If Jiyu Chengyang wanted to leave me, I would not cling to him. Nor was I incapable of living without him. He had taught me from the start that a woman must strive for self-improvement, respect, and love herself. Before loving him, I loved myself more. If he loved me and treated me well, I would love him and treat him well in return. If his heart changed, I would withdraw my affection without hesitation. I could grow medicinal herbs, the world was vast, and there would always be a place for me to settle. I was no longer the Wang Yuan locked in a courtyard, forced to share a room with a concubine's daughter. The world often spoke of the phoenix rising from the ashes, and though I was no phoenix, I was growing. Little by little, I could read and write, recognize medicinal herbs, and grow flowers and plants expertly. I could cook simple meals and do a little needlework. I was no worse than anyone else, so it was only fitting that they admired Jiyu Chengyang. He was, after all, an exceptional man. Of course, I would not push him into the arms of others, nor acknowledge any so-called sisters. nor let anyone into our home. I ignored all the invitation cards sent to me, refusing to see anyone who came. I never expected, though, that Jiyu Chengyang would be more impatient than I was. We need to leave. A wife follows her husband's lead. If he says we go, we go. He wishes to visit reclusive scholars and great Confucians, and I wish to taste the delicacies and experience the customs of every place. He strives to move forward and climb higher. And I shall not stand still. This is an age to strive and fight for one's dreams. Do not rest on one's laurels, nor be a frog in a well, muddling through life. I know some say I am lucky to have married Jiyu Chengyang, to have shared in his poverty and prosperity. Others say I have earned this fortune through lifetimes of good deeds. These words are nothing but the bitter jabs of envy and jealousy, the words of those who cannot harm me in any other way. I do not bother with such people. Nor do I grieve over their words. The man they covet sleeps by my side every night, dotes on me and loves me. I ought to be magnanimous. Perhaps it is my overbearing magnanimity that makes Jiyu Chengyang sulk often, thinking I do not care for him enough, fearing I might truly leave him. Women are taught the 3 obediences and 4 virtues, and they demand I abide by them, yet he abides by them far more strictly himself. He does not speak to other women unnecessarily, never stays alone with any woman, and has never felt the slightest pity for another woman. He has always looked at others with a cold eye and a stern face, and gradually they realize Jiyu Chengyang is a block of iron, never giving anyone the chance to melt his heart. Even the Jiyu family seems to have noticed that Jiyu Chengyang is no longer the man who once bore the honor and disgrace of the Jiyu family as his own responsibility. He is not even willing to return to the capital. Instead, he takes me to visit this great Confucian, buys a mansion to live in for a year or 2 where the scholar resides, then moves to another reclusive Confucian's abode, buys another mansion and lives there for 3 to 5 years. He even told me to bring my wet nurse, my brother and the rest of the family to join us. If Nanny Zhao had not said she wanted to stay in the capital, I would have brought her to my side as well. The Jiyu family sent countless letters urging him to return to the capital, but he refused them all on the grounds of poor health. His health, however, was far from poor. From my 17th birthday, a month after we consummated our marriage, there were nights when he would love me so fiercely I thought I would faint, and I discovered he was more jealous than anyone. Whenever I went out and did not return home for half a day, he would not say a word, but I would not get a good night's sleep that evening. What a terrible flaw. I knew he did not want to return to the capital, and I understood why the Jiyu family kept urging him back. His fame had reached unprecedented heights. After his first storybook became a runaway hit, he wrote another about a poor scholar who climbed the ranks of life step by step through studying and the imperial examinations, a tale that gave hope to countless poor scholars. He is now writing his 3rd storybook, about an ordinary commoner who becomes a general, guarding the borderlands and defending his country. When news of the Wang family's downfall spread throughout the land, someone deliberately brought it to my attention. I was 20 years old then, for months pregnant. Jiyu Chengyang looked at me with worry. Yuan, I smiled at him. I am fine, and I truly was. I had not thought of the Wang family in a very long time. I spent every day reading and writing, growing flowers and medicinal herbs, and tending to Jiyu Chengyang at night. I had no time for insignificant people. What is your plan? Jiyu Chengyang asked. Let us return to the capital once, I said. If they are to be beheaded, we will go to see them one last time, to honor this thin thread of kinship in this life. If they are exiled, we will give them a sum of silver, to repay the gift of life and upbringing. If they are reduced to commoners, we will still give them silver, and then we will part ways forever, never to see each other again. The main reason, though, is for second aunt. Truly, the hardest debt to repay in this world is a debt of gratitude. Jiyu Chengyang too ought to return to the capital once. He cannot keep avoiding the Jiyu family forever, for he has done nothing wrong. We made our way back to the capital at a slow pace. The Wang family had committed many crimes, not the least of which was their involvement with the 3rd prince, who had plotted to stage a coup and seize the throne. As his concubine, Wang Yusin, and the entire Wang family could not possibly be innocent. I did not know if second uncle had been involved. It took us a month and a half to reach the capital, and we had no choice but to go straight back to the Jiyu mansion. It is true, when you have enough ability, your family treats you differently. Lady Gu, for one, took my hand and said with red eyes, "It is good you are back. Do not leave again. Nowhere is better than home, and you are with child. The best imperial physicians and midwives are all in the capital. Mother will arrange everything for you. We have cleaned and tidied your courtyard every few days, and the maids and old women are all personally trained by me. I will give you their deeds of sale later. If they displease you, you may sell them or send them away at will. After all, you do not hit a smiling face, and Lady Gu had never wronged me. Thank you, Mother. We are a family. There is no need for such polite words," Lady Gu said, glancing at Jiu Chengyang, who was sitting with his brothers not far away. Her eyes filled with tears in an instant, but she quickly wiped them away and squeezed my hand tightly. "You are almost 5 months pregnant," she asked. "Are you feeling unwell anywhere? Is there anything you want to eat? Is the baby being fussy? We have traveled a long way, but I have been able to eat everything. The baby is very good, not fussy at all, a sensible child." The eldest madam sat to one side, squirming as if she had needles in her seat. The second sister-in-law, however, wore a smile on her face and sat quietly, listening to Lady Jiu and me talk. Jiu Chengyang turned to look at me, and as our eyes met, he stood up and walked over to my side. "Tired?" he asked. "I will send you back to rest first." "I am not tired," I said. "If I were, I would tell Mother." In truth, everyone in the Jiu family knew why Jiu Chengyang had grown distant from them. First, he had been abandoned by the family when he was poisoned and dying. Second, the eldest madam had framed me and faced no punishment for it. Third, his study and the front courtyard had been emptied of all his things. Fourth, the family had not cared a jot for us after we first left the capital. But one must always move forward and look ahead. Not dwell on the past. Holding on to all the embarrassment and grief in one's heart, it is not worth it. Our courtyard was spotlessly clean and tidy, with everything we could possibly need, every detail taken care of. I sent Siue to take a look at the front courtyard, and she returned to say that the study was filled with books, with brushes, ink, paper and inkstones all complete, and the ornaments were all exquisite and elegant. I clicked my tongue in admiration. Jiu Chengyang came back to talk to me about the Wang family. "The third prince has been reduced to a commoner and imprisoned in the imperial mausoleum," he said. "All those involved have been exiled to the borderlands as an act of mercy from the emperor. Then we will go to see them off on the day they leave," I said. The Wang family left the capital in the 10th lunar month, coincidentally on the anniversary of my wedding day. I stood outside the city with my 7-month pregnant belly and watched them leave. The once arrogant Madame Wang had white hair all over her head, haggard and old. When she saw me, she did not recognize me at first, but when she did, she muttered over and over again, "I was wrong, I was wrong." Master Wang's eyes were red with tears. I handed a money bag to Master Wang, filled with broken silver and a 1,000 tael banknote. "Consider this repayment for the food I ate at the Wang family's table all those years," I said. Master Wang opened his mouth, his hands trembling as he took the bag. He wanted to say something, but I did not want to listen. I turned and walked straight to Second Aunt. Second Aunt was calm, and a look of joy crossed her face when she saw me. "Yuan, Second Aunt, I have prepared some medicinal pills for you," I said, "all in that carriage over there, along with clothes, bedding, and some other small things. The coachman knows a little medicine and martial arts. He will look after you on the way. I have also bribed the government officials. You may take your wife, your daughters, and the children with you in the carriage. When you reach that bitter and cold land, I have prepared some silver for you. Bribe whoever you need to. Do not skimp. When the emperor grants an amnesty one day, you may return. This is all I can do for you. I can do no more." Second Aunt wept endlessly. "You foolish child, you foolish child. Take care on the journey, Second Aunt." Second Aunt nodded. Jiu Chengyang helped me onto the carriage, and we headed home. Madame Wang called my name over and over again. "Yuan, Yuan." I did not look back, nor did I glance at her, and my heart was utterly calm. I truly am a cold and unfeeling person. Jiu Chengyang held me in his arms. "You have me," he said, "and you have our child, I will not let anyone bully you, let us go home." I leaned against his chest and nodded firmly. "Let us go home." The carriage jolted along gently, and I lifted the curtain to look outside. The weather was beautiful, just like the day I married him. Back then, He had chosen me without hesitation, and I had chosen him just as firmly. All along this journey, we have supported each other, hand in hand. There are still many, many years ahead of us, and we will walk them just like this. He will not leave me, and I will not abandon him. We can be a wife who follows her husband's lead, and also two independent souls walking side by side. We are a family, and we are also individuals in our own right. I love him, and he loves me, and happiness will always be with us.